Alrighty, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the live stream here on the channel. Got a lot of people in the chat today. Glad to have you guys all in here. Glad to see you tuning in. We do have a big day of severe weather ahead and a long night of severe weather ahead for most people in the southern and southeastern United States. I'm going to miss a few people, but I'll try my best to welcome everybody here. We got Peyton, Proxy, Edits, Misty, Rockets, Weather Warrior, Ethan, Brian, JD, Raven, Moose, let's see, James, Indiana. Go down a little bit more. Caden is in here as well. And everybody else who is watching and not chatting, or if I missed you, glad to have you in here as well. Legacy, Caleb, glad to see you guys both in here as well. Mads, Sam, see if I can find anyone else I may have missed. Guest, glad to see you all in here. Let's go ahead and switch right on over. Storm Dakota, Anna, welcome to the stream. Let's go and switch right over to our newest scene, or our latest scene, our best scene. This is my favorite scene that I created a long time ago. So this is our normal scene that we go to, and welcome Mike as well. We've got a big day of severe weather ahead. A lot to discuss. So that's why we're live early. I don't know how long we're going to be here for coverage, but we are definitely going to be here well after 3 p.m. Eastern. I've cleared up most of my schedule, but I'll probably not end up being here for the entire day and overnight hours. I imagine I won't be here for that long. But you can see here, this is a big different look to what we saw Wednesday. We do still have that cloud cover look that we saw on Wednesday, but we've got this very large area now of clearing that is trying to occur over much of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, and eastern Texas. And the most specific things and the more in-depth detailed things that I'm going to be keeping an eye on are these right here. These are confluence bands. These are very common in Dixie Alley for severe weather events, especially on higher end severe weather events. And these are probably up there with one of the biggest causers for tornadoes in Dixie Alley. They probably are the biggest causer for tornadoes in Dixie Alley. A second close place, or maybe even first place, would be QLCS spin-up tornadoes. But typically these are what give you those violent and strong tornadoes in those higher risk days for severe weather. Thankfully, I don't think we will be seeing violent tornadoes today, but if we do get strong to intense tornadoes, there's a very high likelihood it's probably going to come from one of these confluence bands out here across Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. Those will take quite a while to mature. We're probably not looking at much of a notable threat for severe weather until after the 3 p.m. time frame. Right now, keeping a very close eye on the MCDs. I am keeping a really close eye on mesoscale discussions from the Storm Prediction Center. At any moment, we could see a pink
MCD issued for a categorical risk upgrade. I would not be surprised if we get a huge moderate risk for the opportunity of a derecho today, or even the moderate risk for a 15 significant chance for tornadoes. Both wouldn't surprise me, even if it's for both wind and tornadoes, it wouldn't shock me. Getting rid of that satellite imagery reveals our very large level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather. Plenty of room for a very large moderate risk for severe weather in this area. That enhanced risk stretches almost from Shreveport, Louisiana, all the way down to just north of New Orleans. It includes Hammond, Louisiana, all the way into Mobile, Pensacola, almost all the way into the Panhandle. Actually, this is into the Panhandle of Florida here. Also going into southwestern Georgia, through Montgomery, barely missing the metro of Birmingham, moving up through Florence, Alabama. And if we get rid of our radar here, going all the way up into Jackson in southwestern and into Paris in western Tennessee. Absolutely huge risk for the chance of significant tornadoes and significant damaging winds. We'll switch on over to Radar Mega here to show you those probabilities, since this has the more classic probabilities. So this is their most recent outlook. They will have an update in under 2 hours, most likely around 3 p.m. Eastern. This is their newest chance for significant tornadoes, and we do have a very large 10 significant chance for tornadoes in this yellow black hatched area. I do believe we have the opportunity to see a 15 hatched area for significant tornadoes, most likely from just south of the Memphis metro all the way down towards Monroe, Louisiana. I don't know if they're going to pull that, because there is quite a bit of uncertainty on discrete supercells forming, as well as exactly how strong that line may be at that time whenever those storms do pull through. Damaging winds, this is what I think we have the best chance to see a moderate risk for. We'll probably see that 45% wind risk extend up into Memphis, back down into Louisiana, and all it takes is the smallest little hatched area for this risk, and it would be moderate. So earlier today, they had a 30 sig risk for damaging winds up here. They removed that sig risk, and then they added the 45% a risk for damaging winds out here. So literally we almost had a moderate, but they ended up removing that hatched risk and then adding that 45% risk. So it does look like we are in for a very widespread, significant line of damaging winds. Most likely it's going to be right around derecho caliber, with the potential for multiple strong tornadoes embedded inside of that line. The hail threat is the only thing that is downtrended over the last 3 days. Every other thing has uptrended over the last 72 hours. Hail threat is down to a 5%. We are looking at the potential for up to about 1-inch hail, but really, we're not going to be talking about hail that much. Most of the Twitter community and the weather community is really focused in on that significant tornado risk. That is what most of the community is focused on. And I really do believe that our biggest issue is actually going to be the damaging winds. Even though it's a 45%, I feel like people are way too focused on that tornado threat. If you don't see a tornado, which most of you won't see a tornado in this enhanced risk level 3 out of 5, there's a very high chance you're going to end up with damaging winds. This is not going to be a tiny line of severe storms. This is going to be probably hundreds of miles worth of damaging winds, all the way from, if we look here, it starts to form at 5 p.m. and right off the bat at 5 p.m. you already have a line that is 300 miles long from northeast to southwest, and that's only going to continue to get longer and stronger. By the time we go into 8 p.m., we're most likely going to be peaking around 8 p.m., 9 p.m. with that damaging wind threat from Memphis, Tennessee, down into probably as far south as Alexandria, Louisiana. And right there, that big line, that's almost 500 miles from northeast to southwest. That is a long line of damaging winds. And inside this line, we're going to have the opportunity for, like I said, multiple spin-up tornadoes, most likely multiple strong spin-up tornadoes as well, embedded inside of this potential derecho. Going through the 10 p.m. time frame, this is what your radar looks like at 11 p.m. Eastern. 11 p.m. Eastern, we'll probably end up seeing some prefrontals fire out here in portions of Mississippi and Louisiana. That is the reason for the expansion of your 10 hatched risk for that potential of discrete convection in front of your potential derecho. Going through 11 p.m. Eastern, that's what your radar looks like. Midnight Eastern, 1 a.m., and then 2 a.m. Well, we don't have 2 a.m. just yet. But just remember, this is a simulation of what our radar could look like. There's going to be a few things that are different with it. But this is generally the best model run that we have that's going to be able to show you the most likely case scenario for damaging winds. Right now, we're not really seeing a lot of activity. We've just got a few showers going up on those northern confluence bands in Louisiana into west central Mississippi. If we take a more broader view here of our radar site, current radar imagery, we do indeed have, if I switch back here, I know I'm kind of switching all over the place, but I do want to go ahead and show you, we do actually have a high risk for flash flooding today, a level 4 out of 4 for flash flooding. So a potentially historic flash flooding event is currently underway out here in portions of Kentucky into Tennessee, Arkansas, and extreme southeastern boot hill of Missouri, and extreme far southern Illinois. We do have the potential for a historic rain event today. So I do want to just go ahead and mention that. Right now they have quite a few considerable flash flood warnings out. If we go to our Memphis, Tennessee radar, you can see those more bold greens. Those are considerable flash flood warnings. There's no flash flood emergencies just yet, but we'll probably see quite a few of those today in the later afternoon and maybe even into the overnight hours. Going through your outlooks, once again, I do want to kind of emphasize on that wind threat. So out here in Mississippi and Alabama, we do have that 45% chance for damaging winds. That is a level 3. That is a level 3 out of 5 for damaging winds, same as your enhanced risk. The reason why this is not a moderate is because it's not hatched. Why it's not hatched is about as good of a guess as you could give me. I really don't understand why they have not hatched that risk for damaging winds. The overall significance of the damaging wind threat closer to Mississippi or eastern Mississippi into western Alabama, it may not be as significant. It may not be up towards that 80 to 90 mile per hour mark. But back out here in Memphis, where they originally had that hatched risk, I do believe that's where we have a good chance of seeing potentially up to 90 mile per hour winds later on this evening. But either way, a very dangerous day ahead, potentially even a deadly day with the amount of damaging winds we're going to be seeing and the amount of spin-up tornadoes. We're really looking at a very dangerous day ahead for most people in Mississippi, a lot of people in southwest Tennessee, southeastern Arkansas, northwestern Louisiana, into west central Alabama. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center has over 8 million people under the gun for the potential of very dangerous damaging winds and a couple tornadoes. I'm looking through the rest of the HRRR here. So let me go and show you the HRRR on College Due page, because that's something most of you guys are most likely more familiar with. We'll go ahead and switch over to our main scene for model runs here. I think we're going to have to use... Okay, that shows you it a little bit better. So this is what our radar generally looks like right about now. We've got a lot of convection spreading over in Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, into southeastern and maybe even into central Texas. As we go through the next hour or so, that convection should not organize all that much. It's going to be when that cold front pushes through, most likely after the 3 p.m. time frame. So here we are at 5 p.m. Eastern. We start to see that convection begin to intensify along the cold front and warm front stretching from Kentucky and Tennessee down through southeastern Texas. And then by the time we get into, let's see, this is 5 p.m. Eastern, our significant severe weather event will be underway. Most likely barely to the southeast of Little Rock, Arkansas. 6 p.m. Eastern, we continue to see that significant damaging wind threat increase, and then by the time we get to 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern, our damaging wind threat should be peaking in intensity over portions of southeastern Arkansas, northeastern Louisiana, northwestern Mississippi, southwest Tennessee. That's our best opportunity right in here for the potential of 80 to up to 90 mile per hour winds, right in that area just after the 7 p.m. Eastern time frame. Going to 8 p.m., that continues to intensify. 9 p.m., still intensifying. 10 p.m., it should lose some intensity as we see those prefrontal storms merging in with our line. It will probably weaken it a little bit, but not all that much. And then by the time we get into, let's see, this is, I believe this is midnight here, midnight Eastern time, still seeing that damaging wind threat across portions of Mississippi into southwestern Alabama. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and that's as far out as our HRRR goes into 3 a.m. I wouldn't be, I'm not all that concerned about prefrontals in portions of Louisiana, Mississippi. I am quite confident in that being an overconvection mess like what we saw on Wednesday. if we are talking about a notable intense tornado threat, I feel like it's going to come from these storms out here in southwestern Tennessee into extreme north central Mississippi. HRRR has continued to uptrend over the last couple of runs for that potential of significant to intense tornadoes over north central Mississippi and southwest Tennessee. So that's where I believe our greatest threat for intense EF3 plus tornadoes will be. But in terms of multiple spin up tornadoes and the potential for multiple spin up strong tornadoes, it's definitely going to be more embedded inside of this intense line here. We should have multiple areas of rotation. Now, one big thing that you may notice if you've studied meteorology is this orientation of the line. It is more northeast to southwest. Typically for southeasterly winds to help increase the tornado threat in an embedded line, you more of want a north to south orientating line. So if we look at the NAM model here, that's also an agreement of a northeast to southwest orientated line. This should decrease our tornado threat embedded inside this QLCS slightly, but we're still going to end up with a lot of tornadoes inside of that entire line, stretching from as far as southwest Tennessee all the way down into central Louisiana throughout much of the evening and overnight hours. So definitely going to see a significant tornado threat embedded inside that line. All right, let's go and switch back over to our HRRR. But if you guys are enjoying this live stream, make sure you hit that like button. We're at over 110 viewers and only 30 likes. The more likes we have, the more people we can reach with the word of this severe weather threat. Let me go ahead and check here. Let me see. Okay. Sorry, I just got sent something. Okay, let's go over into our ingredients now. So looking at instability, this is our newest 17Z HRRR. And look at the difference, by the way. This is the 12Z from earlier, and this is the 17Z from now. We've gotten a lot stronger of a warm sector out here in portions of southeastern Louisiana into southwestern Mississippi, a much larger area of higher instability going into your 2 to 3 p.m. time frame, which is literally in just a couple hours. Thank you, Jessica, for the $10 donation. I'm in Conway, Arkansas, just north of Little Rock. Our house was almost struck by lightning at about 10 a.m. Everyone and everything is okay, but power is out. Half the house and all electronics are fried. Wow, that is terrible, Jessica. Glad you guys are all right. Lightning is also going to be something that's pretty dangerous today as well. That's very, very unfortunate. That is really, really unfortunate. I'm glad to see that you're okay, though. That's the main thing. And again, thank you for the $10 donation. You really didn't have to donate that. You could use that, more for fixing those electronics, but I do appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and continue with our instability here. So as we get towards the about 5 p.m. time frame, that's when our instability should be peaking out here in Mississippi, southwestern Tennessee, into Arkansas. We could have quite a large area of 2,000 instability, especially over this region, kind of I don't know if you call this a tri-state, southeast Arkansas, northwestern Louisiana, west central Mississippi. I suppose it's kind of a tri-state there. That's about the 4-5 p.m. time frame. We should see that instability be peaking. And if we continue that instability, really not going to be much of a problem today. We've seen that really uptrend throughout much of the early morning hours, and it's continuing to uptrend over the last hour. We've actually seen even more of an uptrend in the HRRR in the current Mesoanalysis. So instability, not really anything I'm worried about in terms of limiting today's threat for severe weather. Of course, there is a question mark. There is a question mark on the far northern extent of that instability. However far north that goes, that will increase our severe weather threat more to the north. But at the moment, if we look at your current radar, that instability probably won't surpass this general area here due to that warm front and a bunch of convection into southwestern Tennessee, northwestern Tennessee, southwestern Kentucky. So I don't think our warm front will get much past like the Greenfield or Union City area in northwest Tennessee. Let's go and switch back over to the HRRR again. So, like I said, instability really not going to be an issue there. Look at supercell composite. This is something most of us are familiar with. It's basically the potential for tornadic ingredients in the atmosphere, and it simulates it on a scale of generally from 1 to 35. And if we go ahead and pull this out, you can see by the time those storms really get going towards the 5-6 p.m. time frame, we've got a large area of 4 to 7 supercell composite across much of our western warm sector where that cold front will be moving through. So generally not looking at an issue with tornado ingredients either. If we get prefrontals firing out here in like Alabama towards the 5 p.m. time frame, they won't be able to do much. But most of our prefrontal supercells around that 5-6 p.m. time frame will be focused in north central Mississippi, southwestern Tennessee, maybe into southeastern Arkansas and northeastern Louisiana as well. And that whole area is generally just completely favorable for tornadoes. And then our peak ingredients should be just barely around the sunset time. About 6 p.m. Central time will be when our peak ingredients are in north central Mississippi, southwestern Tennessee. And if we switch to our reflectivity, you can see that's when our supercells, our prefrontal supercells, will most likely be moving through portions of Memphis, Tennessee. I really would not be surprised with a 15 sig tour in that area, but I feel like that prefrontal convection may be a little bit too on the uncertain side to increase that probability of a tornado threat from the SPC. So I would, in my opinion, I really think our damaging wind threat is what we're going to see a moderate risk for at the 3 p.m. update. Again, if we go and pull this out, if you weren't here just minutes ago, that's where our prime damaging wind threat will be, right about the 9 p.m. Eastern time frame across Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee. I do believe we could see a moderate risk level 4 out of 5 for damaging winds in that area. And then by the time we get into the 1 a.m. time frame, the line weakens somewhat, but we still continue with significant damaging winds and brief significant tornado threat, especially embedded into that line. And then using a bit of older model data now, we will continue to see that line move into portions of southeastern Alabama, southwestern Georgia, into the panhandle of Florida by the morning hours of tomorrow. Main opportunity there will be for the potential of widespread 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, as well as the potential for a spin-up tornado or two, especially if you live in southeastern Georgia and the western panhandle of Florida. And by the time we get into the afternoon hours, that line will begin to weaken. And it should really be on the weaker side by the time we get to 3 p.m. It'll mainly just be a line of rain showers moving through Florida. The main issue with that is the disruption of the Daytona 500 tomorrow in, of course, Daytona Beach here in northeastern Florida, generally there. So that's going to be the biggest threat out there in Florida. Disruption of the Daytona 500. Tornado threat, thankfully, is not that notable with this line. If we look at your ingredients here, we could get some spin-up tornadoes, mainly on the far west-southwestern side of the western panhandle of Florida, but it shouldn't be anything significant, and they're really just going to be very brief in intensity. I don't expect a lot of significant severe weather tomorrow morning, at least after the 8 a.m. time frame. Thank you for the $5 donation. That's greatly appreciated. Do you think this would be bad around Kentucky? I heard instability was trending up on the HRRR. Yeah, I'm not too sure. You're definitely going to get a lot of heavy rain. I think the flooding threat is what you need to be really concerned about, especially if you're in a flash flood prone area. But if you're in, I'd say like east of Bowling Green, Kentucky, kind of south central Kentucky in this area here, that's going to be where your greatest opportunity will be for damaging winds. But if you're in like far southwest Kentucky, like say near the Paducah area, you'll probably end up just needing to keep an eye on that flash flooding threat. Not really so much on the damaging wind side of things. Again, we're not really talking so much about a moderate risk for tornadoes. We're really talking about more of a moderate risk for damaging winds. I don't feel like they're going to upgrade this to a 15 sig tour unless we get a lot more confidence on prefrontal convection firing, which, again, the HRRR has uptrended on. It has uptrended on, but it's still not really showing a 15 sig worthy event for tornadoes. Florence, Alabama, definitely significant damaging winds around 70 miles per hour. A couple spin up tornadoes, especially after this is like after the midnight central time frame there. So that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on for Florence. So that's going to be an overnight threat. I think Memphis is really in the primary threat for severe weather. You're looking at around the Memphis region. Memphis is like centered in that greatest threat for all hazards. So I hope Memphis will be okay. I definitely hope Memphis will be okay, but you're really looking at that prime threat for, I don't know exactly when that line's going to be intense, but it could be up to about 80 mile per hour winds in Memphis, as well as multiple tornadoes, potentially a few significant. So definitely want to keep an eye on the sky, especially after the 5 p.m. Central time frame in Memphis. Going over the outlook again, just for people who are now tuning in, or if you haven't seen it, this is their newest SPC outlook here. And you can see the tornado threat. We do have a 5% extending into the Nashville area, Clarksville. This barely goes into far south central Kentucky. It really doesn't move much into Kentucky. We also have a 10% tornado risk. I'm a little surprised they don't have that hatched area more to the north. But the reason why they don't have that hatched area is because of confidence in the warm sector not getting as far north as up towards Paris in west-northwest Tennessee. Also have that hatched 10 significant risk there in Memphis, in Tennessee, down towards Forest City, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, into south central Arkansas as well. Monroe, Louisiana, southwestern Mississippi. I mean, really almost the whole state, almost the entire state of Mississippi, with the exception of Gulfport and extreme south central Mississippi, is under that 10 significant risk for tornadoes. And then, of course, they did extend that on the newest update into southwestern Alabama, almost getting into the Montgomery area, but not quite entering Montgomery. And that 5% tornado risk, that extends all the way into Panama City, Florida, as well as just to the southwest of Atlanta, Georgia, including Columbus, Georgia. Damaging winds, like I said, that's the biggest threat for today. Damaging winds is your number one concern. And then, of course, a very close second is that tornado threat. But damaging winds will be a lot more widespread than that tornado threat. Your damaging winds in that red area is where we could see 70 plus mile per hour winds. And like I mentioned, that goes all the way from northwestern Tennessee all the way into northwestern Louisiana, all the way into the Gulf coastline here in the panhandle of Florida, and then all the way it does go east of Montgomery, Alabama as well. So a very large area for that potential of 70 plus mile per hour winds. And then that pink area, which I do believe will be extended more to the northwest, that pink area is where we're looking at 80 mile per hour winds. Potentially isolated areas could get as high as 90 mile per hour winds tonight, depending on exactly how strong those bow echoes manage to get specifically to the south of Memphis. That greatest damaging wind threat that models are most confident on is in north central Mississippi, northwestern Mississippi as well. The only reason they're not more confident in southwestern Tennessee for that greatest damaging wind threat is because of that warm sector, like I've mentioned. A hail threat, I mean, we're really not going to be worrying about this. You could look at up to 1-inch hail, but not really looking at much of a hail threat for today. Still plenty of time to prepare for this event. Our main storms won't really get going here till after the 5 p.m. Eastern time frame. So if you do live in those yellow and especially that orange area, make sure you're getting that tornado preparedness plan in place. Wow, that is a lot of clearing. Look at that above my face cam. I'll go and put that in full screen. This is our high definition satellite imagery, true color satellite imagery. We are starting to see the ground out here. Pretty much no cloud cover with the exception of those confluence bands out here in Mississippi, as well as into Louisiana. A very significant clearing ongoing out there in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. That will help with the tornado threat for prefrontal cells, but I'm not too confident in those confluence bands producing really significant, a very significant tornado threat. That's really, I think the biggest question is probably that it's probably going to end up being the confluence bands and how significant they may be up into Mississippi. I want to go see I want to go see what Twitter's saying about these uptrends. See if I see anybody say high risk. Let's see. Surprisingly, I don't see a lot of people really saying much about a moderate risk for tornadoes either. Okay, a few people do mention they wouldn't be surprised with the 15 sig tour into northwest Mississippi. Wow, we have over 170 people in here. I cannot remember the last time we had that number. 60 likes, so make sure you hit that like button. It's greatly appreciated. Thankfully, the event's not ongoing yet, so if we could reach as many people as possible like we're really already doing, that's absolutely fantastic. I want to put you back to this screen. This is your SPC outlook. So hopefully you know where you're located out here. You most likely do. Again, if you're in that yellow area, that's where you're looking at the potential for multiple spin-up tornadoes, damaging winds around 60 to 70 miles per hour. And then, of course, if you're in that that enhanced risk, it depends on exactly where you are because the exact probability there of damaging winds does vary. But we're really looking at widespread 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, isolated 90 mile per hour winds. Yeah, we don't need no 1 minute slow mode. Maybe if we get 20,000 people in here, then that type of slow mode would be needed. I wouldn't say a moderate risk is guaranteed. There is definitely still the potential that the SPC doesn't upgrade to a moderate risk. And as well as for damaging winds too. Because there's not like the highest confidence in exactly where those damaging winds would be. But I mean, I think the thing that might limit that significant damaging wind threat is decape. Decape is our downforce instability. That's what allows for water droplets to fall faster. More decape you have, more specifically over 1,000 joules per kilogram, the stronger damaging winds you're most likely going to end up seeing. Especially if you have a solid, well-defined line like what we're expecting today. So decape should be between about 500 to 600, like I just said. We need to be over that 1,000 mark to be talking about a very significant derecho. But even without a bunch of decape, we're still looking at the potential for a derecho today, just simply because of how widespread we're going to be seeing 60 mile an hour winds, potentially all the way from southwest Kentucky all the way into almost central Georgia. That yellow area has the opportunity for 60 mile an hour winds. So I mean, that's definitely that definitely hits the requirement of a line greater than 250 miles for a derecho. So that will definitely hit the lengthwise requirement of it. Now, the overall duration, it should start near Pine Bluff. And, I mean, we'll probably see it severe all the way down to almost Dothan in southeastern Alabama. That hits the requirement of greater than 250 miles worth of a length there. Actually, I forgot how far it is north to south. Let me go look at that. I actually think they updated it last year. I believe they actually updated it. Let's see. $60 mile per hour winds across a length of more than 240 miles. This would definitely fit that definition. I could guarantee that. But I feel like they updated it last year. I'm not seeing anything on that. Just to show you, this is the official NWS. You could see more than 240 miles, about 400 kilometers. Wind gusts at least, so greater than severe limit, which is 58 plus mile per hour. Let's see here. Thank you for the $2 donation. Greatly appreciated. So once again, make sure you're hyper weather aware out here. Just to give you a timing of this stuff, we'll go through it again. All times I'm about to say are in Eastern, and then we'll start diving in depth into our mesoanalysis. So this is currently what the radar generally looks like. Then as we get to 3 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., like I said, after 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll begin to see that increase in damaging winds. So our peak should be at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is peak, 9 p.m. peak, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. That's all peak activity for tornadoes and damaging winds. And then after midnight, it starts to slowly die down. But we still continue with that significant damaging wind threat, as well as significant tornado threat. Nobody said it was a derecho now, did they? Do I think a moderate will happen? I'm 50-50 on it. I'm really 50-50 on it. Because I'm not sure if the SPC is as confident in 80-mile-per-hour winds in this area. I don't know. I could see it going either way. I could see him keeping it enhanced, and I could see him going moderate for both Tor and wind, or moderate for just wind. And as we get into 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, you can see that line will continue into Alabama, western Florida, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and then that's where our model run stops. All right, let's go ahead and look at some ingredients here on our mesoanalysis. It is about to update. It is about to update in about 30 minutes, but we might as well just go on over to it. Let's go to our mesoanalysis here over southeastern U.S., maybe even more than that. There we go. So first thing to check is instability, and like I mentioned before, we're already seeing it overperform. Wow, we've got 1,000+ instability, about 1,500 reaching all the way into northwestern Mississippi now, also into northwestern Louisiana, and then into eastern Texas as expected. So very, very large area of a favorable, very favorable warm sector for second season for all hazards. Very, very large, 1,500+ instability warm sector there. And you can see, like I mentioned in Wednesday's live stream, you only really need 500 instability in second season to get a good, solid, severe threat. So that's around this line right here. So that's putting your main tornado threat already up into Arkansas, western Florida, and southeastern Tennessee. Of course, you need storms to actually be inside that environment to take advantage of those ingredients. Then as we look here towards your downdraft instability, we are actually up to the 700 to 800 mark in Louisiana. We'll pay very, very close attention to that. See if that can get above the 1,000 mark, and see if that can push up more into Mississippi. If we look at the future simulation of that, you could see it really doesn't move up into Mississippi. We stay around that mark of 500 downdraft instability into north central Mississippi. So I feel like that might be one reason why the SPC won't issue a moderate risk at the 3 p.m. Eastern update, would be because your downdraft instability isn't high enough to support a long-tracked significant derecho. Of course, we don't need the 1,000 downdraft instability to see a lower end derecho today. But definitely, if we're looking for that potential of 90-mile-per-hour winds or 90+ mile-per-hour winds, you're going to have that D-cape above 1,000. Let's go over to our surface observations here. So let's see if we can generally find our warm sector. Our primary warm sector looks to be right in and about in here. That's where your primary warm sector with favorable ingredients looks to be. Maybe a little too far west into Texas, but generally there. So that's your good favorable area for dew points, moisture, and your temperatures. So that's already moving up into Tennessee, and that will probably push even further into Tennessee, potentially as far as into southwestern Kentucky. Looking at effective wind shear, you can clearly tell that this is going to be where your primary threat for tornadoes is going to end up being, just because of that wind shear. And then, of course, if we overlap your instability, you're going to be focusing more up into this area for significant tornado threat, as well as once that pulls more to the north, it will also pull more into, like I mentioned, southwestern Tennessee, because your instability and your wind shear, it's not done increasing yet. That's going to continue to pull to the north and northwest. And then if we go ahead and look at your lower level surface to 1 kilometer helicity, 150 plus is favorable for really any tornado threat. So you're looking at, it's difficult to see exactly where, but it seems like this blue line is probably around that 150 mark. So I would say really anything in this whole area is favorable for lower level wind shear, including strong tornadoes, especially when those storms get going after the 5 p.m. Eastern time frame. Of course, you're not going to be seeing strong tornadoes now, right? Because we literally have like no convection in that open warm sector, just a few blobs out here in Mississippi and Louisiana. Looking at that hodograph map, you could see very favorable hodographs, especially as you get up into Tennessee, where that wind shear is stronger. Northern Louisiana, central Mississippi, that's where your better hodographs are. You've got some smaller hodographs out in this area because that wind shear isn't as significant, as closer to that bottom right exit region of your trough. You can see how elongated they are up here into central Tennessee. However, you don't have instability getting that far north just yet. There's our supercell composite, most favorable environment, like I already mentioned, going into Tennessee, Mississippi. Right now, supercell composite says it's more of in this region here into as well as eastern Texas. However, we're not going to have the greatest amount of forcing in eastern Texas, so I don't expect any widespread severe weather out here into southeastern Texas, far southwest Louisiana, where the supercell composite is apparently the highest here in your Mesoanalysis as of, this was about 30 minutes ago. A significant tornado parameter, I've kind of forgotten exactly where that is. I guess, let's see, we'll do this one here. Yeah, so there you go. This is your STP, significant tornado parameter. Of course, it's higher more north because that's where your better wind shear is. So that really highlights up in this area. And of course, this is all going to pull more to the north. All of this is going to pull more to the north, northeast, and northwest, as well as we go throughout the next 3 hours of complete clearing and just full-blown recovery of the atmosphere out here in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas. I didn't check lower level lapse rates here. 6.5 to 7, so that's definitely not sufficient for a widespread prefrontal convection. That's why your confluence bands are probably going to struggle over at least the next 3 hours out here in Mississippi and Louisiana. Those will continue to struggle probably until the warm sector can lift all the way up into eastern Arkansas, southwestern Tennessee towards the 5-6 p.m. time frame. Then that tornado threat will really start increasing towards that 5-6 p.m. Eastern time frame. Mid-level lapse rates, I expect these to be extremely low. I mean, they're not terrible. They're not terrible. 6 lapse rates, 6.5 lapse rates in the mid-level. But in my opinion, those aren't going to really matter a whole lot for today's event. Of course, they do matter somewhat. But mid-level lapse rates, I'm not really concerned about that. We already looked at that there. I believe doesn't this have a skew T? Yeah, skew T right there. All right, yep, there's your EML. You can clearly see your EML. Still got some drier air aloft, big time dry air aloft on pretty much all of these skew Ts here. Very, very confident that that's going to end up dissipating once your line gets closer to these storms. So that's probably also going to help inhibit. Those. What do you call it? Confluence bands. It's going to help inhibit those confluence bands from causing any significant tornado threat until after that 5-6 p.m. Eastern time frame. So the environment's just going to keep on recovering here. It is not uncommon to see that much dry air in the upper levels. That's not going to end up being much of an issue towards the later portions of the day. But in terms of an imminent severe weather threat, that's definitely nowhere near. We're still a good 2-3 hours from looking at anything near these severe limits. So if we just pop a sounding out here, look at that skew T a little bit closer. Well, this looks a lot better. You can see that very obvious EML towards the 500 millibar there. And then this is some more dry air intrusion that could hurt thunderstorm development. And then it's also very favorable here. So on this particular skew T, the only issue on this is really this dry air locked in between the 300 and 400 millibar level. That could inhibit more mature supercells from firing in the open warm sector. Point value limits here. Everything looks perfectly fine to me. A little low on that lower level wind shear, but anything greater than 25 knots is doable. And yeah, see, that's why you don't have the absolute best curvature and elongated hodograph, but still really good. It's not your classic Dixie Alley huge elongated hodograph like we will see later on tonight when that lower level jet increases. Again, after the 6 p.m. time frame. Everything's after 6 p.m. Everything is after 6 p.m. That's when your threat is going to go crazy. If we go and take a more broad look at your entire setup here, looking at your 500 millibars, you can see this absolutely huge positively tilted trough that we've been discussing for the last week, if not more than that. It is currently located across much of the United States, and you can see the right exit region is specifically out here, out more specifically into southeastern Texas is where that most favorable environment would be wind shear wise. And if you go ahead and look, that really won't move up into our primary area for severe weather. That's going to really stay well to the south. So we're not going to get that main forcing. That's your main forcing part right there. If we were to see prefrontals fire and a bunch of prefrontals fire, like more of talking a big tornado outbreak today, this portion of your trough would have to be more focused over kind of this four corners area out here. Let me check the wind shear. I wonder if it's actually any good out there. Yeah, so you could see, especially in the lower levels, it is definitely way more favorable out in this area. But that trough's going to continue to push through the southern portions of the U.S. Looking back at that again. Yep, that's where most of your forcing is, in this area. And then once we get to 6 p.m., you can see, I wish I could keep it here, but you can kind of just see the progression of this trough, and you can tell that the forcing is definitely going to be increasing significantly over Arkansas, Louisiana, western Tennessee, especially in 6 hours. So that's, let's see, 18Z all the way plus 6 hours. So that's near 0Z. That's about 7 p.m. Eastern. That forcing is going to be significantly stronger than what it currently is. Big difference between what we're seeing now and what we'll be seeing at 7 p.m. That trough is going to be a lot more amplified. Still positive, but regardless, more amplified. Looking at your lower level jet, I doubt that's going to be an issue today. I mean, yeah, you've got widespread 50 plus knots across your entire area, even currently. And that's just simply because of how large your exit region is of the trough. You can see this huge exit region, so your lower level jet is spreading across really the entire portions of the southern and most of the central United States there as well. Let me see exactly how widespread that is. I'm actually curious. Yeah, so you can see it's more focused in this area. I'm sure that's because that's where your warm front is. Your fronts aren't very obvious right now. We don't have a very well-defined low pressure, so that's why I'm not too good at dissecting exactly where the greatest wind shear is. You don't have that very well-defined low pressure really anywhere. It's not defined at all. In 6 hours, it's still going to be very messy for low pressure. So your good low pressure probably won't even really form for this severe weather event, but you can tell your cold front's generally in here, and then it turns into a warm front back out in that area. Your main warm front, though, is right there. And you just have very weak, very weak low pressure here. I mean, I don't even... Let me see if the WPC even recognizes it as a low pressure. See if they recognize it as a low. They do. Barely. They barely recognize it as a low. 1007 millibar low. So I don't even know if you could primarily call that a low. It is still a low pressure, but it's not your more, strong low pressures that we're used to when dealing with significant severe events. So your wind shear is definitely it's weird. I'm not used to looking at wind shear for positively tilted troughs. I'm not used to that. It's very weird to me. Forecasting such a strong environment with a positively tilted trough ejection. I mean, that's just not something I'm used to. No channel names. Let's go ahead and look at... Yeah, that's our surface-based lift index. So you can see it's primarily where those confluence bands are in Mississippi and Louisiana. And then into far southeastern Texas as well. Definitely not the worst setup, especially thermodynamic-wise. It is definitely a good setup thermodynamic-wise, but more on your kinematic sides and your overall trough geometry. It's not something that you would fully expect to be causing a possible tornado outbreak, and as well as a possible derecho later on in the day. This is not really the trough you look for. For derechos, especially derechos, normally you have a very, very tight, concentrated bowling ball trough, and it's not like a big elongated trough. Typically, it's a really small, tight trough ejection with a very concentrated, deep low pressure. And this is a very large area of a weak low pressure with a very much positively tilted trough. But of course, derechos can also form in other setups. For instance, what we're going to probably end up seeing tonight. So yeah, your low, like I said, it's just, if we go back to your, let's see, 850. Yeah, I mean, you just got this very large, broad area of a low. It's barely, I really can't even consider it a low because it's so disorganized. But I mean, it has fronts attached to it. WPC recognizes it as a low, so we'll call it a low. For your exact placement of your warm front, by the way, just to kind of correct myself, your low is generally here. Cold front is exactly where I was talking about, and then your warm front goes up like this. And according to the WPC, it stretches out like that. So that's your warm front, this black line here. Cold front is this north to south orientated black line. Yeah, that definitely matches up more with wind shear. Doesn't match up as well with the wind shear up here, but that is because you've got a cold front, warm front. It's both a cold front and a warm front up in this area. So that's what's causing some more wind shear in that area. That's, I believe, associated with the more northern side of our low pressure. That's going to help with snow. Yeah, that's going to help with snow, especially into very late tomorrow night in the northeastern U.S. All right, I think I've really done most of my dive into this. We'll take a few more. We'll take a few more soundings. Still, that dry air between the 500 and the 300 millibar, that could definitely be an issue for more substantial mature supercells in the open warm sector. Ew, that, yikes. What's your lower level at? 32, apparently. I'm surprised that photograph is so wonky. So weird. Let's look into Mississippi. Much better into Mississippi, where those prefrontal convergence bands are setting up. Against QT, still got that dry air entrainment. You still have it. That's a very elevated, high up EML. That's really going to hurt more mature supercells and prefrontals. And then if we go more into South Central Mississippi, it's still there. So that, you really look for that dry air above the 500 millibar. This dry air isn't going to hurt as much. That dry air won't hurt as much, but as you especially as you get between the 300 to 400 millibar level, that dry air does hurt cells, especially more mature supercells, a lot more. Check the observed sounding. All right, let's see this. We got a special observed sounding from the National Weather Service in... Let's figure out exactly where. The National Weather Service in... Lake Charles, Louisiana. About the that's about the hodograph I expected, with your trough still being far out to the west. That's about what I expected. Still got that huge EML. Huge EML. Gracious day. And then the hodograph is to be expected with your trough still way out west. The biggest eye racer here is instability being at 3,000. That's definitely an eyebrow raiser right there. Yeah, but dry air, a line of damaging winds, once it's going, it doesn't give a crap about dry air in the mid-level. It's just gonna go whoop. It'll pass right through like it didn't even exist. And like I said, not the best veering either. I want to look more into your trough geometry. I really want to understand that positive tilt trough, because it's not a lot of times that I'm able to see such a large positive trough. That's not something I've studied in meteorology. A trough like this is not that common, especially in February. In February, this good of a trough with this type of thermodynamics just doesn't seem like you see it ever. So this is your primary area. So your positive tilt is here, right? So anything to the southwest of this is really not going to have much to do with any type of severe weather or whatnot. So it's mainly going to be in this corner here where that primary exit region is. It's always, 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 always the right quadrant of your trough ejection. Always the right quadrant. That is the most favorable. Bottom right quadrant is your ejection of your trough, which typically allows for that more ascent and stronger forcing. So if we just kind of trace where that's going to go, it's probably going to swing up into this area. So that would allow for your greatest forcing to be here towards that that later evening hour. But right now, I feel like there's got to be a shortwave somewhere, because that mid-level wind shear, I want to know what's doing all that. Let me go back to your mid-levels. I wonder what's causing all that wind shear out there in the more northern mid-Atlantic. But like I said, you just have this huge, broad, low pressure. That could be what's actually helping your wind shear out in this area, too. Yeah. Normally, by this time, 2 p.m., we've got a very concentrated, very deep low that's rotating like this with a very negatively tilted trough that goes out like that if you're looking for a substantial severe weather threat. But today we've got a weak low here, and I think we've got a couple lows. Let me go look at all the lows we got. Alright, we got a low there. Weak low there. Weak low there. Weak low there. Let's see. Weak low there. So you've got just a lot of weak lows. Oh, you got a weak low there. So you've got just a bunch of general weak lows across this entire area. And the primary low pressure, the primary one is going to end up being this one that's currently near Tulsa. That's your primary one. And here's your brown MCD from the Storm Prediction Center. This is 100% not your main mesoscale discussion for the day. Corridor of intensifying thunderstorms may develop between 4 to 6 p.m. Central. That is 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. May initially include supercells with the potential to produce tornadoes. Brown means severe and or tornado watch, so we could get either one. From what I have seen, from what I've seen, brown is more for severe, though. Increasing forcing for ascent along the frontal zone by 21 to 23Z. So that's at least in 2 hours, a minimum of 2 hours before that really gets going. So we'll probably see a lower end tornado watch come out in this area. Although that's a little bit of weird placement. I do say that because I feel like your primary tornado watch is probably going to extend up into Tennessee as well. That will be something to look for to see how much this tornado and or severe watch will spread into Tennessee or Mississippi. They most likely will issue that towards the 4 p.m. Eastern time frame, good 2 hours from now. All right, but if you haven't already seen, let's go ahead and go through our SPC outlook. We are going to get an update in less than an hour, and of course, we're going to be live for that. This is your newest SPC outlook. We, of course, have that very large enhanced risk for severe weather all the way over most of central southwestern Alabama, over almost the entire state of Mississippi, most of Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas, into west southwestern Tennessee. Primarily for the potential of significant tornadoes. As you can see in this area here, we've got a risk for tornadoes. Some of those will be on the stronger side, specifically in that black hatched area. And then, of course, also for your main reason for the enhanced is primarily for the damaging winds. That's why your enhanced is such a large level 3 out of 5. So you've got this huge enhanced risk in the red. And then that pink, it is non-hatched, but if they do hatch that, it would typically be a moderate risk for severe weather. But because it's not hatched, that is still under the general enhanced risk criteria there. And then going into tomorrow, just to briefly mention tomorrow, we do have a large marginal risk. Very large level 1 marginal risk all the way from southern New Jersey through Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, into Georgia, Florida, with that slight risk in the southwestern portion of, or rather, that's more the far southern, southeastern portion of Georgia into the northern and western portion of Florida. Could see a brief tornado or two when that line separates up here in Virginia and North Carolina. Also could see a brief tornado or two in the morning hours out here in Georgia and Florida. Primarily, this is for the potential of damaging winds of widespread 60-mile-an-hour winds, isolated up to 70-mile-per-hour winds, specifically in that yellow and south on the southwestern portion of this outlook. And hail will not be an issue. It's mainly for the potential of supercells and storms firing between 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, Catman. They don't mention which watch it will be. It could be a bit of a higher end severe watch, or it could end up being a mid-tier tornado watch. And what I mean by higher end severe watch is I mean probabilities on the severe weather side of things would be much higher than the tornado probabilities. I don't actually mean a high-end severe thunderstorm watch like what we'd see on a Derecho day. Most likely we're going to get a higher-end tornado watch for this severe weather setup over Mississippi. Over Mississippi into, well, there's a lot of states. But there's your MCD right there. So if you're in that MCD, you're looking at the potential for well, you will be inside a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. Personally, I think they're going to end up doing a mid-tier tornado watch. That's what I'm thinking for today, at least in that MCD area. And then later on for the primary tornado watch, they'll end up doing a higher-end tornado watch. I don't think there will be a PDS severe watch or a PDS tornado watch. We could question a potential PDS tornado watch if we see an upgrade on both hazards for severe weather, both tornadoes and damaging winds. But I highly doubt. I'm just not confident in seeing that upgrade to a 15 sig tor. I'm not very confident in those lower level lapse rates, as well as the minimal amount of ascent in the open warm sector to form those prefrontal supercells to warrant that moderate risk for tornadoes. I am a lot more confident in that widespread damaging wind threat. Let's see. I just answered that question. Yeah, I don't really think they'll go 15 sig Tor. I personally don't see it. Yeah, even a 45 sig wind, they may not pull that just because of the uncertainty on the exact highest placement of the D cape, as well as the greatest forcing for on that cold front. Greatest forcing on that cold front, which will probably be near the low. Low pressure is going to be in what was it, like southeastern Missouri towards 0Z. Let me go see where that low will be at 0Z. Southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois. So your greatest forcing should be just barely to the south of that over southwest Tennessee, northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas. So that would be the most likely area for a 45 sig wind. However, I don't know if our D cape of values over 800, which is currently in Louisiana, is going to even get remotely close to northern Mississippi. So you can see our cold front is probably back in here at the moment. So we're not going to see a whole lot of significant severe weather until that cold front gets into at least southwestern Arkansas. At minimum, it's got to get into southwestern Arkansas, extreme eastern Texas, into northwest Louisiana before we really see that severe threat start to kick off. I mean, SPC is typically more conservative, so like I said, I really wouldn't be surprised if they don't do a moderate, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do a moderate for wind. I would be a little bit more on the surprise side of things if they pulled a 15 sig Tor. That would definitely surprise me a bit more. I will also go ahead and give you a big notice. There is a high likelihood I am going to be inside of a nor'easter on Wednesday. So there is a very low chance for a live stream on Wednesday due to it impacting my area. We're already looking at potentially major impacts out here in southwestern Virginia. That could translate to a very historic blizzard in the northeastern U.S., but there's not enough confidence to really go over that potential. But for my area, it is looking like near a major winter storm in my region. So Wednesday is a very low to non-0% chance of a live stream. Unless I chase, which, in my opinion, it's going to be a little bit too vigorous to chase. It looks like the real deal for a blizzard or snowstorm. My bad, not blizzard. We ain't get blizzards out here. I mean, I could get upwards of 10 inches of snow out of this one, so we'll see. We'll see if it's the biggest snow since 2016 or if it's the biggest flop since 2022. Shoot. We had a big flop earlier this year anyways. Yeah, I really don't think this prefrontal is going to do much. They just don't have a lot of forcing. They don't have a lot of forcing. And that's why they're not really growing much upscale. My main preparations when I know that I'm going to be doing a long live stream is alert my family that I'm doing a long live stream, as well as grab 3 to 6 bottles of water and then eat a good lunch. Because that's why I don't, like, most live streams, you're not going to catch me live before noon. For instance, Wednesday, we were live all the way from noon till almost, what, 9? I'm not sure how long we're going to be live today, but I know for a fact I'm not ending until well after 3 p.m. Eastern. So some more forcing is arriving out here in eastern Texas. That's why we're getting some more convection too. But none of this is going to really be potential severe weather. until well after the 5 p.m. or actually maybe even later than that, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. time frame. I mean, this MCD, they mentioned the potential for severe weather at 21Z. Yeah, 21Z, so that's 4 p.m. That's like the earliest we could start seeing severe weather, but our main event really won't get going till after 6. I know, I see the clearing. It's right above my face cam. That's really helping to pull that warm sector more north. And once that big time forcing arrives, for the cold front at least, won't be a lot of forcing over the open warm sector. That forcing for the cold front is going to help pull those instability values more north quicker over the last like hour or so. Let me see if I could show you on the HRRR generally what I'm talking about. Actually, it takes about 3 hours, so look here. See how in about an hour this is your general warm sector, but within the next 3 hours of that, so from 20Z to 23Z, your warm sector pulls very quickly to the north. Very quickly to the north there. I didn't check this model run, actually. We're going to look at this together. Yep, so it still has that extremely notable, significant damaging wind threat out here in eastern Arkansas, southwest Tennessee, a good chunk of northern Mississippi. That's where I feel like we could see a moderate for wind. And then it really got rid of most of that prefrontal supercells, which I gotta agree with. Honestly, don't feel like those prefrontals are going to really be able to strengthen enough to produce a big significant tornado outbreak. I feel like we're nearly guaranteed a tornado outbreak today just because of how simply significant this line is going to end up being. You can also see look at that. That's a crazy line moving through Nashville here. I can't even see the time. Why is the time covered? Look at that. The time's covered up there. Oh, wow. That's like 1 a.m. So midnight, I think midnight central. See, this is 11 p.m. midnight, 1 a.m. my time. So that's midnight central time. Moves through Nashville. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they do have that enhanced risk already pretty far north. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if that moves a bit more to the east into Tennessee. But they already got that pretty much as far north as I personally believe our warm sector is going to get. Maybe we could get some stronger storms into central southwest Kentucky, but that's going to be more isolated because there's not, as you can see here, there's not a lot of confidence and notable instability getting that far to the north. Don't think we can look at D-Cape on here, and I unfortunately can't take soundings on College of DuPage. So, like I said, I do believe we've got a pretty good chance to see a moderate in this area here. I don't know how far into Tennessee. I want to say more into Tennessee, more like this for a moderate risk, but I feel like that's too large. So this is the area that I feel like has the greatest chance for a moderate risk. Once that forcing is the most significant at 7, 8 p.m. Eastern, that allows for significant intensification of that line. And then that continues all the way through about midnight Eastern. And then after midnight, you still keep that SIG wind risk, but it wouldn't be more of that chance for 90-mile-per-hour winds. Like in this area, would not be shocked if we got a 90-mile-per-hour severe in this area later on this evening. But I really feel like a 15 SIG tour. I mean, there's a chance they pull it, but that would really surprise me because 15 SIG tours, in my opinion, most of the time you're going to end up seeing that with big derechos, like significant derechos that are guaranteed to happen, or you're having a lot of discrete or prefrontal convection. Which it looks like we're going to see a derecho, but it most likely wouldn't end up being like a crazy, ridiculous derecho. We're still going to end up seeing that widespread 60, 70 mile per hour wind threat with a lot of areas probably getting up to 80. Isolated could get up to 90. But more notable derechos like December 15th and the derechos that we saw last year that were moderate risks for 15 sig tours. I don't think this is going to end up getting to that 15 sig tour caliber. Number one reason for that, let me give you a big reason for that. Big reason. The orientation of the derecho. Possible derecho, my bad, possible derecho. If it was a north to south orientation, I'd almost be fully on board with a 15 sig. But it is northeast to southwest orientated, and that allows for a lesser amount of southeasterly wind shear to help with the rotation of thunderstorms, as well as the fact that we don't have a negative trough. So that's another thing. You don't have a negatively tilted trough ejection, and you don't have the best orientation of your line either. Let's see. I don't know all my specs for my PC, but I have a 4070 with a with 32 gigabytes of RAM. But I don't know everything from my PC. Right, let me close out some tabs before my computer explodes. I have way too many College DuPage tabs open. I've got like 6 of them open. 2 more on this screen too. There we go. New Mesoanalysis should be in. Let's go and see what that looks like. National Weather Service. Pull that over here. Forecast. Oh, not that. Forecast tools, Mesoanalysis, Southeastern United States. Yep, up to 3,000 instability just to the southwest of New Orleans. And look at that primary warm sector, which, like I said, is that red, this last red line before your line gets thinner. This red line right here. That's your main primary warm sector where your environment, as long as wind shear is favorable for tornadoes. So that whole area right there, almost the whole state of Mississippi, the whole state of Louisiana, almost all of southeastern Arkansas and eastern Texas has that huge, absolutely huge warm sector there. And you can see your lower level jet is all over that area. Your ascent still, you've got like no ascent here. I really don't know how those confluence bands are even forming. That's quite a miracle that we're even seeing confluence bands out there in Louisiana and Mississippi right now. That's why pretty much no models other than the HRRR had confluence bands forming, because the ascent's just so weak. At least confluence bands at this time, just after 19Z. Now, a lot of models did have more bands forming towards the 22-23Z time frame. There's our satellite imagery. Wow. Just a absolute ton of clearing. I feel like it's not that often you get a good amount of clearing in Dixie Alley. Most of the Dixie Alley events that I remember have had a lot of cloud cover with them. All the Dixie Alley events this year, which has been 3, every last one of them has had significant cloud cover. But that is absolutely a sign of a prime warm sector continuing to increase in instability and pull more north. So thankfully we don't have a negatively tilted trough. If we had a negatively tilted trough, we'd probably be dealing with significant tornadoes right now. But because we don't have a negatively tilted trough, that primary ascent is misplaced more to the west, and it will be more for the cold front as opposed for the warm sector. Let's see this one. Oh my word. This is a newest update from the Weather Prediction Center. This is the chance for, I think, about 2.5 inches of snow. I'm not going to say exactly, but you can just tell. Martinsville is where I live. And I'm not going to say if I'm in that, and I'm not going to say if I'm not in that. But that's a 70 to 90% chance for me getting more than 2.5 inches of snow. I've I'm like right. I'm not gonna say exactly where, but I zoomed in. I don't exactly want to say it. That's crazy. I'm not trying to give out my exact location today and dox myself on stream. No thanks. Not in the mood for that. No, the trough will not go negatively tilted. That's literally impossible for it to go negatively tilted. It will go negatively tilted towards like the mid-Atlantic states, but for our primary severe weather event, it's going to be positive to maybe neutral. Maybe neutral. But definitely not negative until we get into like North Carolina, South Carolina, this area here. Let's look at our surface observations. So again, clearly can tell where that favorable moisture is. Generally right in here. Cuts off like right there for some reason. Continues this way. That's your favorable moisture right there. And temperatures. A little bit of a wonky cutoff there on the northwest side. But that's generally where your most favorable environment is. 60 plus dew points with most temperatures into the mid 70s. As you get into northern Mississippi, they are closer to the low 70s, high 60s. Anything changed with your wind shear? Not really. Just very weak forcing as well. There's our hodograph map again. Much better wind shear, more north in this area. More specifically, mainly into southern Tennessee. That's where your best hodograph is from Memphis. I believe that's the best hodograph we have right now. That's a mixture of wind shear and as well as instability. Let's see if we can look at anything else that may... There's Derecho composite. There's Derecho composite right there. That's going to increase substantially throughout the day. Oh, EHI. Ah, this is weird EHI on Mesoanalysis. This isn't the one I'm used to looking at. Don't really see anything that's going to really help us here with forecasting. Main things that I look at for severe threats, surface-based instability. Oh, wait, mixed layer instability. I did not look at that. They don't have a great... Okay, there you go. So mixed layer instability. And that's plenty. That is plenty. That is... Instability is not even an issue today. There is a question on how far north it will go, but, I mean, the thing's already into friggin' Memphis. And we've still got the primary next 3 hours for significant more northern extent of that warm sector. So I don't see instability being an issue unless you're in like southwestern Kentucky. Instability is not going to end up being an issue for you. It is overperforming significantly on instability. HRRR thinks that we have 0 instability in southwestern Tennessee, and we actually have 500. We have 500. That's a big difference for a second season. So that is definitely a big difference for your HRRR. It is substantially underdoing the northern extent of that warm sector. It has that main warm sector down into 500 instabilities like here on the HRRR. It's right here. This line is really what HRRR thinks is 500 instability. And then we could go back to mixed layer cape, which is what I'm looking at. And you can see there, it's up into southwest Tennessee. So HRRR is still a little bit off. It's not horrifically off, like dramatic change in the risk off, but it's definitely a model run that's underdoing instability at the moment. Is it 20Z yet? Okay, it's not 20Z yet. I mean, even the NAM was a little bit better. Even the NAM was slightly better with the instability. Yeah, but NAM significantly is underdoing instability over Louisiana and Mississippi right now, so NAM's not much better with instability either. But yep, just about 30 minutes left till the next SPC outlook. Might as well go ahead and do this. Give me one more second. There we go. Paul. Let's see what we're thinking after all this analysis that we've done over the last hour and a half or so. 82% yes so far. It's switching between 79 and 82. We'll let that run until 2:50, which is 15 more minutes Eastern time. So what is that? 1950 Z. We'll let that run until 1950 Z, and then we'll stop that poll. I mean, for the damaging wind threat, I really just think downdraft cape is the only limiting factor for your big 90-mile-per-hour potential damaging winds up in this area here. Like you could see, most of this is about 500 up into Tennessee right now, into southeastern Arkansas. Which, like I mentioned, the HRRR really has this area here being that primary damaging wind threat. And that black line is your D-cape. 84 to 16 so far, so most of you are leaning towards a moderate at the moment. There's definitely a few situations I could see where they don't do a moderate risk. Most of that is due to confidence, and then the close second would be due to D-cape, which we're looking at here. That is just for an overall moderate, so that moderate is for, if it could be for tornadoes, wind, or both, or just wind. Just generally, if you think they're going to upgrade it to a moderate. It doesn't specify if it's a moderate for Tor or not. There's the SPC outlook as well. So you can see our main warm sector is definitely, it's encompassed the entire main portion of that enhanced. That warm sector hasn't pulled all the way up into Tennessee, but we've got another 3 solid hours of this moving more north, at least. And by the time we get to that, this is what it should look like. And you can see that primary warm sector will get very close to the northern tip of that enhanced. And then especially into the early overnight hours, don't even worry about this part of the enhanced risk, because as the cold front pushes through, it's going to congeal all this instability into more of a line and push it all eastward. And so once that happens, this instability will also push a little bit more north as that cold front hits your main line of convection out there in Arkansas. Dang, I might have to chase Eastern Virginia tomorrow. Let's go. Let's change gears and let's hop on to the TRG Chase Tomorrow train here and see what we're looking at. So see these little things? These are what we see a lot out here in Virginia. They're in association with high shear, low cape setups. A lot of the time, they end up being either completely low precipitation or you can't see a thing in front of you. High precipitation. And it doesn't look bad specifically around the Raleigh area. Right in here towards the 1 p.m. Eastern time frame. If we look at supercell component, wow, that has uptrended a lot. And you can see the minimal instability, just 200 instability but an extremely sheared area. 700 0 to 3 kilometer shear with your lower level wind shear. Probably right around that 400 to 500 mark, and it is. So really solid environment wind shear wise. Mixed layer instability is low, so it's definitely your classic North Carolina, Virginia, low Cape, high shear overperforming event. It's got my attention. I saw it like 6 days ago or so, but I mean, I'm still not for certain on going for it because models definitely disagree on the exact placement of it. Look at that. That is definitely more concerning out here. You see a lot more of those LP, I guess kind of LP. The front of it right here, this is all high precipitation here. But once you get to this, the back end here towards the western side of these little cells here, those would be more LP. I'll just flop a quick sounding here. Let me get the greatest instability area. And try not to get into that. It's going to be so difficult. It's going to be convection contaminated no matter what I do. What about cloud cover? Yeah, that's going to be cloud cover everywhere. Yeah, that's definitely high shear right there. Look at the photograph at the top right. It's things halfway off the screen. That's definitely high shear. You only have 645 surface to 3 kilometer wind shear. But I don't know. That's a lot of limiting there. So terrible thermodynamic wise and so perfect kinematic wise. Because that's right when your trough tilts negatively as well. If we look back here, see that? That's when your trough tilts negatively. You got a different trough up here into Canada that's tilted positively. All right, let's go back over to southeastern U.S. again. So that's what we're looking at for the 9 p.m. time frame, which in my opinion will be the absolute peak of our tornado threat as well as damaging wind threat. That's most likely the area that would end up going moderate, somewhere between maybe in or just slightly north of Memphis, all the way down into possibly northeastern Louisiana. That's really the region I've been most confident in that area for the last like 3 days or so for damaging winds. I've been very confident in that area seeing damaging winds for about the last 3 days, and it only continues to get more and more uptrending every hour we get closer. So we'll see. Again, I'm going to close that poll in 8 minutes. So if you haven't voted on that poll, if you want to, go ahead. It's do you think it will go moderate risk, which is a level 4 out of 5. It could be a moderate for tornadoes, damaging winds, or both. I do want to go over here and pull up this. There we go. And I'm also going to go and get rid of these two. And we're going to keep on this screen because we are getting pretty close to that outlook time where the NWS will issue, or the SPC will issue that new outlook, whether it be enhanced or an upgrade to a moderate, we'll see. Let's see, Collins, Mississippi. Please don't bring me to northern Mississippi. Okay, that's good. You're in southern Mississippi, so you're definitely later for the overall threat. I would say your primary threat begins around 11 p.m. Central. Yeah, and you're going to be home around 9. Yeah, you'll be good. You may have some, maybe worst case scenario, you got some light rain starting at 9 p.m. or right around there, 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. my time. But you're not going to see much around that 9 p.m. time frame. 8 p.m. your time. The main line should be off into like the potentially damaging winds would be off in Monroe over back in here at 8 p.m. Central. So that won't get to you. The main line shouldn't reach you until, let's see, this is midnight, 1 a.m. I'd say about midnight Central. Right around midnight Central will be the worst of the line for you. But there's a chance you get a brief spin-up tornado before that, closer to 11 p.m. Central. But there should be so much convection. Like, there will be so many cells in front of the line that they'll all be competing for the same environment, and hopefully that just tears them apart. Starting to see winter storm watches come out here for Missouri and Kansas for our upcoming system Wednesday, I guess. Right? I don't know when this starts. This starts Monday night into Tuesday. Out there in Missouri, it starts Monday night. Going to refresh this. Yeah, no high-resolution models reach out to that winter storm yet. The NAM barely does for southeastern Kansas, southwest Missouri. Yep, we're already seeing the watches go out. Apparently, a lot of high wind warnings just went out. Lucky just texted me about it too. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, so this is your reason for high wind warnings going into tomorrow afternoon. That's your wind gust. Could be isolated up to 55, 60 out there in North Carolina into southeastern Virginia. That's why you got a high wind warning out there. And a lot of high wind advisories. We'll see. We're very close to that new outlook. 3 more minutes to vote on that poll if you want to. Let me go to satellite imagery. Which one's the... Let's see. Okay, nope, not that one, I hope. This one? Nope, this is our best... Oh, it wasn't fully loaded. There's our high-resolution satellite for Radar Omega, though. So those are your confluence bands right there. That's one primary one. Then you got a second one in here. And then maybe some sneaky ones back out in there. But primarily you've got those two main confluence bands. We'll probably see a severe or tornado watch pretty soon, I imagine. Let me go see. Severe thunderstorm watch or tornado watch will be issued by 22Z. So they'll issue that before 22Z. So we could get it anywhere between now and, what, 5 p.m. is that? Yeah, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. I'm not too sure. The SPC is typically conservative, so I don't know. I really do not know. The environment and generally the setup we're looking at is definitely up there for a moderate risk. I think we could see a moderate if we're just talking about the setup for damaging winds over Mississippi, eastern Arkansas, southern Tennessee. But, like I said, the SPC is typically more on the conservative side, so maybe they won't. It's too difficult to tell. I can't fully predict what the SPC is going to do. It's SPC, they'll probably shrink the enhancers for crying out loud. That would probably be the most shocking thing for me. Hold on. Let me go back here. I almost thought that the outlook you're seeing now, I partially thought that was the new outlook. I'm not even gonna lie. The reason why is because for some reason, I didn't remember the enhanced risk going this far into the western panhandle of Florida. I call that Mississippi. There ain't no way I'm getting tired already, dude. I'm doomed. Yeah, also the placement of that 45 non-hash risk, that was weird. I can't even lie to you guys. I was pretty dang surprised to see the placement of that 45% wind. That was definitely not where I expected to see a 45% wind. Now, if they issued the 45% wind like this, I would have been like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. But they just issued the 45% wind for Southwest Alabama and extreme East Tennessee, Eastern Mississippi. How am I confusing my states, bro? That did surprise me a little bit more, seeing exactly the placement of that 45%. If anywhere, that's honestly, especially into Southwest Alabama, Southwestern Alabama, that's one of the areas where I'm a little bit less confident in 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. So now we wait. I'm gonna go ahead and stop that poll. I'll give you guys one more minute. If you haven't voted on it, go ahead. We're still at, well, now we're at 77 to 23. That's on. Do you think they will upgrade to moderate? Which most likely, if they do, it would be just adding a hatched risk for that 45% wind that's already there. I just want to end it a little early because, you know, sometimes SPC will end up issuing it early. Are you talking about your snowfall totals, Catman? I mean, shoot. If they going off the GFS too heavily, I wonder if they're forecasting 2 feet of snow over Joplin, Missouri. Nope, they got a 50 to 75% chance of more than 5 inches of snow. They don't even give an exact range just yet. The GFS is like, I think the GFS is like the, oh, wow. What? Okay, everything uptrended today for me. Wow. Yesterday, the GFS was showing me get like an inch and a half of snow. Now it shows 10. The Euro yesterday was showing, let me see what it was showing. Yesterday, one of the Euro model was showing like 5 inches of snow. Now it's all the way up to 11. The Canadian, I don't know what that was showing yesterday, but the Canadian shows me getting about 9 inches of snow now. Yesterday, the Canadian was showing 2. Maybe not even that. Very sharp cutoff. So everything's uptrended for me. I like that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end that poll right now. Gonna end the poll, and it is 77 to 22%. Pretty sure that equals 99. I haven't been in high school for like 2 years, but I'm pretty sure 22 plus 77 equals 99 and not 100. But there's your poll, apparently. So, majority of you guys, about, we'll say 1 in every 4 people, around 1 in every 4 people think it will be a moderate risk. A rough estimate. Because I'm sure, you know, not everybody voted. There's about 50 people in here who didn't vote. I guess 1% are the, I don't know. Because the 1% you have to vote, so, you know, if you vote, it should count for the percentage there, but apparently it didn't. That's YouTube for you. Alright, this will be one of the first things to update, because this gets, this GR Earth, it gets its feed directly from the National Weather Service and SPC, so, like, 1 minute, maybe not even 1 minute after they issue it, it flops up here. Whereas on the website, it could take up to about 2 to 3 minutes, or even more than that if you're very unlucky. Now it is a game of refreshing IEM bot. Now it's just a game of refreshing. If you guys are enjoying the update, we're not fully in coverage just yet. Make sure you hit that like button. We are definitely well up there in likes now. Only about 20 people haven't hit that like button, so it's greatly appreciated that over 130 of you guys have hit the like button. It's really, really appreciated. This is one of our more viewed live streams in a very long time. Probably, I don't know. I think we had a pretty good winter storm coverage one, though. Let's see. Yeah, we had a pretty good briefing for the blizzard in Missouri a month ago, so this is our most viewed stream in over a month. Like I said, it's a waiting game. Pretty much everyone in the weather community is going to just be doing the same thing, refreshing IEM bot and just waiting, looking at as many products as they can to see what refreshes first and what gets the outlook first. Oh, dang. So the Chaser Summit is happening. I don't know exactly what this is at, but this was at a conference. I don't know if it's an association to the Chaser Summit, but the SPC revealed moving watches and warnings, as well as a new Mesoanalysis page. So it looks like we have those two things to look forward to. Hopefully in March or May. A new SPC Mesoanalysis page is long overdue, but I gotta be honest, I kind of like it. I do like the Mesoanalysis page. Yep. They're probably also going to add 5 Sig Tor as well. Lucky! Hello, looking DMs. This dude. Lucky finally woke up from his 20-hour nap. Glad to see him. I just got put under a wind advisory. Woohoo. Dang, Lucky, you a celebrity in there. He actually did just wake up. That's funny. That's funny. We're waiting for the new SPC outlook. You're like 5 minutes late. I just ended the poll. 5 minutes ago, I ended the poll. I'm voting if you think it's going to go moderate or not. You could just tell me in DMs or in chat if you think this is going to go moderate. For wind or for Tor or for both or for one. Personally, I think it's going to go moderate for just wind. But then again, it is the SPC, and the SPC is conservative, so... Wouldn't surprise me if they just kept it all enhanced. Moderate for both. Wow. I'm curious as for why some of you guys think it will go moderate for Tor. I mean, I'm really not even leaning towards that whatsoever. Unless it's for the spin up QLCS threat, I really don't think we're going to see a 15 sig Tor. I don't think many things point towards that. I know NATOcast had one over like Nashville for a 15 sig Tor, but that wasn't even believable. CSU has a 15 sig Tor over Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas, but I don't even know why that's so aggressive. I don't feel like the line orientation is not enough. I don't think it's enough north to south to warrant that 15 sig. Moderate for tornadoes and probably wind. I'm way more confident in wind going moderate. That's the only thing I'm confident in it possibly being a moderate for. Let's see. Go to the HRRR. We do have the 19Z rendering in. Looking at every HRRR rendering in is definitely not the most accurate for severe weather events when they're ongoing, but I'm going to do it anyways. Lucky, I know you can watch the stream and probably hear me. I did discuss that with my chat. It's kind of 50-50. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it all the way over to Durham or Raleigh, or maybe even east of Raleigh by the time cells really get going towards, let's see, this is 1 p.m., noon. They're going to really get going at like 9, so I would have to get up at 7. So I would have to choose between staying up late tonight and covering the event, or, you know, just watching it off of live stream, and or chasing tomorrow. And not only that, gas money is always something I consider, and it's not really that cheap to go from southwestern Virginia to eastern North Carolina to southwestern Virginia in the span of 12 hours. All right, we're at 3 p.m. The SPC is officially late. Watch them issue it right now. Oh, and I assume they kept it enhanced based off of chat. I still haven't seen it, unless it came through on this end. I mean, that percent does look bigger, doesn't it? Maybe. They expanded the enhanced risk. Yeah, this is it. This is the outlook. It looks like they expanded the enhanced a little bit to the west, maybe. So still enhanced. There's still a last second opportunity at 8 p.m. when the line is ongoing. There is definitely still a last second opportunity. Well, Lucky, you would have to wake up at like 9 a.m. and text me if you're going to chase. And if you say yes, there's a good chance I would probably end up chasing with you. But the only problem is you'd have to get up at 9 a.m. and you ain't done that in decades. Okay, that's still not the new outlook there. I'm waiting for the actual SPC site to update. Well, if you're getting up at 3 p.m., dude, you're literally going to wake up and the storms are going to be in the ocean by 3 p.m. I'm not even kidding. By 3 p.m., there might be some rain in the eastern Outer Banks of North Carolina, but everything's going to be in the Atlantic by 3 p.m. And we do have a little bit of a cold core setup in southeastern Pennsylvania as well. Could spawn a few tornadoes. That wouldn't surprise me. Lucky all storms have to move. So, yeah, they're probably going to move at about, I guess, 45, 50 miles per hour. Here, I could go... Oh, blizzard warning. Is that a blizzard warning? Yeah, it's a blizzard warning up there in West Virginia and far northwestern Virginia. Let's go ahead and look at the models real quick again. See how fast they're moving, because we know Lucky ain't going to look at no models for tomorrow. So if we take this storm here, right in the core, and we go to the next frame, that's about 50 miles per hour. Yeah, I know it's stated enhanced. We already saw that. That 45% wind does look a bit larger to the southwest. The prior outlook remains largely unchanged. I'm just going to skip all this. Significant tornado threat with any prefrontal or warm sector supercell that may be able to evolve. Damaging wind gusts and embedded tornadoes will remain possible overnight. The wording on this is severe storms are expected from parts of eastern Texas into much of the lower Mississippi Valley and southeastern United States this afternoon into the overnight hours. Several tornadoes and scattered to numerous damaging wind gusts will be the primary threat. Also, a few strong tornadoes are possible. That's the newest SPC outlook there. I like how HRRR just threw a discrete supercell in eastern Arkansas, because why not? That's crazy. It actually threw a discrete supercell in eastern Arkansas ahead of the line. I highly, highly doubt that will happen. I mean, I don't really see much of a prefrontal threat. There's definitely a chance we could get one or two established prefrontals, but I personally don't see a notable prefrontal significant tornado threat with this setup. I just don't see it. What was that poll? Let me go look. Yeah, the 22% that said no were correct. Five sig in Alabama? Let's go see that. Let's go see a 5 sig. Let's see. There's a little one right there. There's a little 5 sig right there. Yep. Look at that. Significant severe 5% for tornado threat. Is there any larger areas? Oh, that might be one. Yep, right there too in Arkansas. This isn't even the update yet. Classic. I won't even be able to tell. Let me look at the SPC site. Let's look here and see if we can tell there. Oh yeah, you can easily tell there's a 5 sig there. That's easy to tell from the SPC site. It's not easy to spot on this software at all, because it's so cut off there. See how it's cut off? So it's not easy to spot at all. Alright. So our main storm should really start firing off here. The main severe threat will probably start around 3:30, maybe 4. Really, it should start any minute, actually. We should start to see quite stronger storms begin to fire in southwest Arkansas. I'm actually surprised, because that was for sure. It was supposed to be a little later Yeah, it looks like the HRRR trended that threat starting earlier. Generally, it should be around, I'd say, 4 p.m. when these storms start to strengthen. Event starts around 4. Main event, like the primary damaging wind, tornado event, and small hail event, that should start closer to 6:37. And that will track all the way from south central Arkansas, right around that time frame, all the way till probably just after midnight Eastern. Yes, I'm in Eastern time. I try to say that I'm in Eastern time frequently, but I do forget. Also, if you are enjoying the update, make sure you hit that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload a video. I'm not sure when the next live stream or video will be. It will probably end up being, like, I'd imagine Tuesday would be a live stream to update you guys on the snowstorm. But I'm not too sure about, like, tomorrow or Monday. Either tomorrow, I'm either going to take a day off. Yeah, because that threat's in the morning. So tomorrow, I'm either going to take a day off or I'm going to chase in Eastern NC. Yes, these storms will get stronger from here on out. Next thing to watch for is a severe or tornado watch. We'll see. I'll see what watch they issue. But again, this won't be the main watch. This will be the watch for these storms that are going to strengthen from here all the way till 6 p.m. And then after 6 p.m., our main watch will come out for wherever that may be. I don't know where. It depends on where they issue this first watch. And just as expected, by the way, these prefrontal storms have not matured whatsoever. That dry air in the mid-atmosphere is going to halt them from intensifying, probably for the next, still at least the next 2 hours. I imagine we won't see much convection really pop off with these until after 5 p.m., probably after 6 p.m. They'll just be little blobs till then. But look at that. Go back over to our satellite imagery, show you all that clearing that we've been looking at recently. So there you go. We've got still looking at a large area, a very significant clearing across the entire state of Mississippi, southwestern Alabama, southwest Tennessee, a good chunk of southeastern Arkansas, most of Louisiana as well. We also are getting a new Mesoanalysis like right now, so let me go check if that's in. Typically, it's about 10 to 15 minutes after every top of the hour. It should be, I think, 20Z right now. It's not coming in yet. This one's going to be a little bit on the later side then. There is your... Oh, actually got to switch it to this. So there's your nationwide radar. Specifically, we're really looking over just the southeastern U.S. And you could see those cells, really, they haven't progressed much. They've been kind of flip-flopping between intensity, but none of them are maintaining at all. And you can see some better forcing beginning out here in southwestern Texas. Or rather, southeastern Texas, southwestern Louisiana. That's as your cold front begins to arrive, as well as your trough ejection. And so we'll continue to see those storms grow upscale. I don't think those will end up being a very significant threat. Your main threat will be when this line of rain emerges with that line of I guess you could call them prefrontals, but they're not really that in front of the front. These are more of your prefrontals out here, which, like I said, probably won't end up doing much. I really don't think we'll see many supercells sustain out in front of the line. Maybe they will, but personally, I'm not seeing it that much. Yeah, they did expand that 45% wind risk more west in that red, which I don't know. I'm really intrigued by that because if they were to expand it, which they did, I really expected them to, go all out and put it all the way up into southwest Tennessee, southeastern Arkansas, into maybe even northeastern Louisiana. We'll see what happens, but I'm not sure how this is going to play out because I'm not very confident in the biggest wind threat being in this red area. From what I've seen with all of our CAM models, there's way more agreement into central Mississippi, northwest Mississippi. The NAM did downtrend slightly on that. It keeps it more over convection like until later on in the night. But of course, these model runs, we're using model runs that are just now coming in for this event, so they are going to be a little bit more inaccurate, in my opinion. I don't like to take model runs that are, coming in after 12Z that seriously, unless it's very notable uptrends. It's more of a nowcast than a forecast. Waiting for that new Mesoanalysis here. This one's very late. Typically, they are in by now. Refresh again. Nope, not in. Unless I got my Zulu time wrong. No, it's 20Z. Still stuck on 19Z for Mesoanalysis, which is your current environment. I'll go ahead and switch all back over here now. I do feel like the that Sig Tor threat embedded inside of the line could end up being a little bit more significant than some people are talking about. That's something I would definitely watch very closely, is that Sig Tor threat embedded inside of the line, because the majority of significant tornadoes that people have been talking about have really been with prefrontals. So because we're not seeing many prefrontals really fire up on our model runs, that may give people the sense of we're not going to see strong tornadoes today. Whereas that's not the case. The main strong tornado threat is really going to be focused embedded inside of that line with all the supercells we'll see embedded inside our potential Derecho / QLCS. And our more lesser strong tornado threat will come with those prefrontal cells. And I say that because not a lot of confidence in those prefrontals really getting to be robust, which, if they're not robust enough, they're not going to be able to produce strong tornadoes. But if we're going to see like an intense tornado that's EF3 plus today, it would most likely have to be from that, from the prefrontal cells. Unless we somehow get a very intense embedded supercell inside the line, which is possible, but I feel like, your more intense tornado threat would come from discrete cells that could form. But I really don't see many discrete cells forming in this. And that's not just because the HRRR doesn't have it either. I personally, just overall from a forecasting perspective, and as well as on Mesoanalysis, just don't see much forcing for these storms to grow in the open warm sector. Their next outlook comes out at this point here. 01Z is the next SPC outlook. This is generally what we'll be seeing at that time. A last second moderate could occur once that confidence is extremely high on exactly where that greatest swath of damaging winds will be. That might be what they end up doing, but they did not mention an upgrade to moderate risk being possible at the next outlook cycle, so I'm not too sure. It would be very last second. One event that this does remind me of quite a lot is the March 30th, 2022. Was that a Derecho? That was one of the first widespread Derecho events I tracked. That was right after December 15th, 2021. So that was one of the more widespread wind threats in the southern U.S. that I believe verified. I saw a lot of people talking about that in chat, and I just now thought about going and looking at that. Yeah, which that was a huge moderate over Mississippi, northeastern Louisiana, western Alabama, and southwest Tennessee. Wow. That is so similar. It's crazy. I didn't even realize how similar that is. Jeez. What's the trough look like on that? Let's see. Can I look at 300 millibars? Can't tell exactly, but it looks like it was a negatively tilted short wave with a positively tilted elongated trough. Yeah, but look, let me go and show you guys real quick. Dang. Look at this. This was the day 2 outlook, or day 3. This was the day 3 outlook for March 30th, 2022. And when you woke up the next day, so you went from day 3 to day 2, geez, woke up straight to a moderate risk. Now that's a big outlook change right there from day 3 to day 2. And if we go closer here to the event, let's see, this is the midday outlook, 1630Z. Well, this is technically early afternoon outlook here. I mean, that moderate, that's really exactly where our potential derecho is going to track across today. Looking at the current, this is our newest HRRR, just kind of memorize where that moderate risk is placed and look at the HRRR where that line intensifies the most and then pulls through that moderate risk on this particular day. They did have a large 15 sig, which if this was pulled for today, I would have flipped out because that would have been crazy over forecasting. That large of a 15 sig for today's event. I never saw that. But that 45 sig wind event, or placement, look at that. That placement is not bad at all. That is literally the placement that I was kind of thinking of for the 45% weather sig or non-sig event for today. Northeastern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, southwest Tennessee, western Alabama, much of Mississippi. That's really exactly what I was thinking for today, and then 5% hail. So very similar. A little bit more of a tornado threat, slightly, a little bit more of a notable tornado threat, but very, very similar. And here's the verification for that event. A fantastic verification for the SPC. Is moderate risk there. A main storm really intensified in eastern Arkansas, which is expected today. A little overperformance, just slightly out there in the slight risk. Storms might have fired a little sooner than expected in Louisiana for this particular day. But overall, I mean, I really wouldn't be shocked if we had a similar outcome to this. A little bit less of that tornado threat, though, at least with the 15 sig placement there. I'm sure there was a PDS watch issued on this day. For some reason, I can't see the watches on this day. I'm quite sure they issued watches. That would be pretty weird if they didn't. But yeah, there you go. When for the trough there, here's your 300 millibar trough. You can see elongated positive to neutral tilted trough ejection with an embedded sharp negative tilt short wave over the main region. I'm not sure if this was a confirmed derecho. I don't really know for that, but very similar events for sure. like I said, there's your, this is, again, we're looking at a past event analogs here. This is your outlook for, March 30th, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, March 30th, and then versus today's outlook. They're quite similar. They are definitely quite similar, especially in the progression of how the threat evolved. I'll keep this here. Pull up a radar. Let me see if I can go ahead and look at a radar archive real quick. I'll show you how that derecho progressed. Not that. I think this is it. So March 30th, 2022. Radar composite for the southern Mississippi Valley. Okay, that's definitely not the southern Mississippi Valley. Wait, hold on. Maybe it is, and I'm just really zoomed out. Nope. That might be Missouri Valley, actually. There you go. All right. This is the progression of it. I don't know if this is going to go far enough out. Oh, there it is. This is the progression of this event here. So, started off messy, just like we are today. Okay, this is as zoomed out as I can go for you. Very, very messy. And then intensification, quite a lot of intensification on this particular day for Louisiana. Don't think we're going to see that. And you could see it stayed very messy up until Mississippi. And that's where it really intensified. Look at the orientation of this line. That's big. See how this is more north to south? That's what promoted the SPC to upgrade this particular day to 15 sig. That more north to south orientation of your line out here in southwestern Tennessee into northern Mississippi on this particular day. And if we keep pulling that forward, this is how it continued to progress. And it got messy. It did get very, very messy out there in Alabama, but it still produced multiple tornadoes in central southern Alabama. And then that was it for the day. It died off very quickly. Very elongated, positively tilted trough with a shortwave trough embedded inside of the longer belt of flow. So the entire trough was positive, but you had a shortwave that was negative. Today, we just have a entirely positively tilted trough. But this positively tilted trough we're dealing with today seems to be more amplified. The one on that particular day seemed to be a very elongated trough like this with an embedded shortwave on the southwest side. A little bit more northwest, more like this. And it had an embedded shortwave right here, but the entire trough was more positive to maybe neutral. Whereas this event that we're dealing with today, you can see it's going to turn into a amplified neutral tilt trough. Very similar events. Very similar. Is that SPC analysis in yet? There you go. Let's look at that now. Random arrow pointing into Florida. Turn that off. Okay, let's see. It's haven't really moved much north. It still looks generally the same. It's moved a bit north. That 500 is definitely slightly more into Tennessee. It's moved a decent bit more into Arkansas. But that more favorable 500 line is still generally where we last had it an hour ago. It didn't move too much. I'm not really sure if there's anything else I need to check. I really just want to check that instability. Yep, you can see the better environment now. Definitely more of a pinpoint bullseye now moving into Arkansas and Mississippi, southwest Tennessee for the greatest tornado threat. That's a lot higher compared to 2 hours ago. Big difference between 2 hours ago and now. Could we look at, I'm guessing maybe lower level wind shear is what increased over there? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. 250 lower level helicity. That definitely increased. Actually, it seems to have been about the same. I take that back. This was 2 hours ago. This is now. Actually, take that back. I didn't realize the wind shear was already over that area. It could just be instability that has moved into that area that's promoting supercell composite to highlight that region. Interesting. I mean, it seems like your wind shear, at least in northern Mississippi, stayed about the same. If not possibly even weakened a little. Okay, there's your College Dew page. I'm going to pull that back over here. I have watches turned on, right? Let's see. Yes, I do. Like I said, we should see a watch before 5 p.m. Eastern. I don't know exactly how far east that's going to extend. We'll figure that out once it's issued. Let's see. Sun's out in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, the clearing is crazy. It's a bunch of clearing. I'll still keep that above my face cam. A ridiculous amount of clearing. You can see, once again, the cold front is really back out in this area here. I mean, your cold front's just now getting into your marginal risk. So, we've got the whole day ahead of us, minus a few tiny little marginal places, for instance. Maybe out here. Yep, because you're getting your storms right now, Mount Pleasant, Texas. Oh yeah, it's definitely possible Memphis doesn't see a tornado, but there's a pretty high chance we're going to end up with a brief spin-up tornado somewhere around Memphis. Whether or not it's in Memphis to your south or north, we'll just have to see how that plays out. But somewhere around Memphis, potentially in Memphis, could see a spin-up tornado. Well, technically, there's never a 100% chance for anything in weather, but I would be very surprised if we didn't end up with at least one tornado today, whether it be strong or weak. But like I said, there's never technically a 100% chance of anything with weather. Let's see. You can definitely tell this little line right here is trying to get more organized, but it really won't really explode in organization until still, like I mentioned, after probably 6 p.m. The earliest area where we could start seeing some severes is southwestern Arkansas. The earliest time frame for that is 3:34 o'clock. We could start seeing some storms worth watching in southwest Arkansas around that time. Next SPC outlook, just for those who are wondering, will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time, which will be when our primary event is underway. Primary event will be from generally 7 to 11 or 7 to midnight Eastern. Really start upticking after 6 p.m. Let's see. Yeah, still continuing with all those flash flood warnings out here in Kentucky and northwestern Tennessee. No flash flood emergencies just yet, which is great news, but still a ridiculous amount of rain continuing to fall in that area. West Baton Rouge. So that area, I think's in, yeah, you're in a slight risk. You're in a slight risk for severe weather there. So a brief spin up tornado, very small hail, and main threat would be damaging winds as high as 70 miles per hour. Main threat is up to 70-mile-an-hour winds, specifically around midnight central. 11 p.m. midnight central. I'm not sure what you mean by fixes itself up. If you mean strengthen, no. Strengthening significantly increases the overall severe weather threat. And tornado threat too is what I was going to say, but it increases all threats for severe weather. Minus a bit of the hail threat, but the hail threat really isn't a concern today. And it's going to organize very, very quickly. See what that rain shower's looking like out here. No lightning activity, just some blobs. Still not concerned with those prefrontal cells. If we had a negatively tilted trough, man, this would be a crazy outbreak. I mean, this would probably be a ridiculous, significant tornado outbreak if we had a negatively tilted trough with better ascent in this area. Because you could see how decently spaced out all these clusters of supercells, or what would have been supercells, are. But thank goodness we do not have a negatively tilted trough. That's the main reason why we're not dealing with a violent or an intense tornado threat today. I wouldn't fully rule out an isolated intense tornado of EF3 strength, especially if a supercell can get established. But generally, it's just simply because the trough's not negatively tilted, which doesn't allow for as much forcing and as many storms to really fire over the open warm sector. And it especially allows for them to not sustain over the open warm sector. Let's see. I don't think there's really much more to look forward to, like, update-wise. It's really just going to be a big waiting game from here on. But we're already almost 2.5 hours into this live stream. We'll see how long I go. Let me see. Did the HRRR fix its instability thing yet? Not really. I also... What? Look at this. I don't know. I didn't notice that till just now. Look at the HRRR's initiation here. Pretty much 4,000 instability. Red is 4,000. I just can't hit the correct pixel. There you go. HRRR initiated at 4,000 instability in Arkansas. I want to look at that on Radar Omega. Why did it initiate so high? That was surface-based Cape. 19Z. It doesn't look that high on this one. Definitely not. I wonder if that's just a bug on College Due page. Because it ain't here on Radar Omega. But, yep. We're just going to continue to watch these cells here. See if anything can really strengthen. I don't think we're really going to see much until, like I mentioned, probably after 5 p.m. So what's going to happen is, if we just look at this, so these storms here are going to strengthen. They'll pose the greatest severe risk over the next 2 hours. Right in here from 3:30 to 5:30. At 5:30, we'll start seeing that peak event begin to intensify over this area. And then from 5:30 to 7, it's just going to keep intensifying. And then it's going to peak from about 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll stay in that absolute peak of these severe weather events somewhere in this region here. Didn't mean to lag like that. somewhere in this area from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. That event will be absolutely peaking. And then it will still be at its peak event, but it's going to slowly begin to decrease as storms move in this area here between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Then after 11 p.m., we could still see spin-up tornadoes and damaging winds and small hail in this whole area after 11 p.m. Eastern. And of course, that risk would keep going more north, too. We're going to wait for the, I guess the biggest thing to look forward to is the SPC issuing a watch here, which I'm not too sure when that's going to be. The earliest is probably 4 p.m., and the latest is probably 5 p.m. So between 4 and 5 Eastern, we'll end up with a severe tornado watch issued here. Yeah, significant tornadoes are definitely possible today. They are a very real possibility. I wouldn't fully rule out an intense tornado of EF3 plus intensity if we can get established supercells in the warm sector, or maybe even with just a very intense part of your line. But the main threat is going to be spin-up tornadoes, potentially spin-up strong tornadoes inside of the line. And then, of course, damaging winds, widespread damaging winds between 60 to 70 miles per hour. Some areas could hit 80 miles per hour, and then there's a chance we even get up to 90 mile per hour winds in some spots. That greatest threat, if we were to see 90 mile an hour winds today, I would believe it would be a couple miles south of the surface low on the far northern side of your warm sector, which would bring it from generally near Jackson, Tennessee, all the way down to about Greenville, Arkansas. That's the area I would be most confident in getting the best opportunity for 90 mile an hour winds today. We'll see if we actually get a wind gust up to 90. We're at 157 likes. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. It's really appreciated. Try to get up all the way to 200 likes for today's live stream. I believe that will be the first time we've hit 200 likes, probably since December 27th of last year. And if you're new to the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload a video. There's a pretty high chance that I won't end up live streaming tomorrow's severe weather event, as I'll either be chasing or taking the day off. And then Monday I'm unsure about, and then Tuesday we'll end up live streaming that winter storm. So Tuesday's our next planned live stream, because that winter storm will be making its way across northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, and most of southern Missouri Tuesday. Let's see, if this occurred in April and was negative tilted trough, this would have been quite bad. It would have definitely been really, really bad. It would have been a very high caliber setup. I have no idea how many warnings they're going to put out. I have no idea. I just know there's probably going to end up being a bunch of tornado warnings and a load of severe warnings today. It's a little difficult to tell exactly how intense that line may be until it forms, because we've had a lot of days where models end up overdoing the intensity of a line of severe weather. And, we end up talking about 90 mile an hour winds, and then well over half the line doesn't even get up to 50 mile an hour winds. We've had that happen a lot. We're getting into that range of where I think we'll potentially see a watch here. There's an 80% chance of a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch, specifically between 4 and 5 p.m. in that tiny little area that's in yellow. Take off the SPC outlook, that area in yellow. We could see it in the next 15 minutes, but the best chance is from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Sam, you could be muted in Streamlabs, or you may not have set the correct input device in your settings. It's all a big learning curve. Streamlabs took me really like 2.5, 3 years to get the scenes and everything I wanted for streaming for Streamlabs. The biggest thing is copyright. Trying to make sure nothing's copyrighted and you can use it all correctly. I mean, sound like Lucky. You wanting to go to sleep at 2:45 p.m.? I mean, I guess you could sleep through it, but I really wouldn't recommend, especially if you're in Memphis. Because in Memphis, you're going to get your threat a little earlier on. I really wouldn't recommend sleeping through the event. At least not now. You know, of course, later on in the night when you normally go to sleep. Just make sure you have a weather radio, your phone's fully charged, fully loud, so that way whenever a warning's issued, you'll be able to wake up. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive watches and warnings, multiple ways to wake up once a warning comes through. Because there's a pretty good chance you are going to get a warning tonight, especially if you are in Memphis, whether that be a tornado warning or a severe warning. Go look at this here. Now it's the waiting game. The waiting game for storms to pop off. And then once they really start popping off, we'll go back into another waiting game waiting for new scans. Weather's always a waiting game. I do have all my radars pulled up. I'll just make sure all of them are in the correct spots here. They seem to be. I do have one in. Okay. Just double checking. I have one in Little Rock and then Memphis. Those Memphis, Little Rock, those are the two bigger ones. Especially Memphis. This one here, Jackson, Mississippi. I feel like I'm not going to need that one until very late. I might not even need that much today. So I'm going to move that to the, is this a Tupelo radar? I think it is. Yeah, do the Tupelo radar. There we go. And we'll keep it on the Memphis, actually no, the Little Rock one. Little Rock for now. And then go back to here. There we go. I'll go double check that MCD again. Yeah, so it's before 5 p.m. Before 5 p.m. Eastern, there's an 80% chance that we receive a tornado and or a severe thunderstorm watch in northwestern Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas, far northwestern Mississippi, and southwest Tennessee. The greatest opportunity for that watch to be issued is between 21 and 22Z. So 21Z is 4 p.m. 22Z is 5. So, yeah, like I said, we should see it probably right around 4, maybe later. Also, if we go ahead and check here, just to show you, our significant tornado parameter, our STP, is indeed up to 3 now. out in northwestern Mississippi, eastern Arkansas, and not quite into southwest Tennessee. I think it's like right on the border there. So that's going to be your hot spot for tornadoes, is where you can see this 2 STP or greater. So we're looking at southwest Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, and northwest Mississippi for now for the greatest tornado threat out of this QLCS eventually once it gets to those higher numbers. Quite later on today. So if you are just tuning in, I'll go over the SPC outlook again, because we did get a update on that. Some of y'all may not have seen it. So here is our overall categorical risk for today. We do have a level 1 in the marginal green area, level 2 in the yellow, and then a level 3 out of 5 for the potential of significant severe weather, including significant tornadoes and significant damaging winds at or greater than 80 miles per hour. As well as we could have isolated hail up to an inch in diameter. That greatest tornado threat will be focused in the 10 hatched area here, which does go into Memphis, Tennessee now, back out into southeastern Arkansas, northeastern Louisiana, and includes most of Mississippi. Like I also mentioned, southwest Alabama is in that as well. Damaging wind threat, the main 45% wind risk was expanded to the northwest here. However, if you are in that red area, you still have the chance for 80 plus mile an hour winds. In the pink area, you just have a better opportunity to see 80 mile per hour winds. But we're going to have an opportunity to see 80 mile per hour winds for anybody in the red or in the pink. In my opinion, that absolute highest wind risk is going to be focused generally in this region here. Most of northern Mississippi into southwest Tennessee, far southwest Tennessee, and extreme southeastern Arkansas, in my opinion, has that best opportunity for significant damaging winds at or greater than 80 miles per hour. As that line pulls through, most likely after the 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central time frame. And then there's that tiny little hail risk, just to let you know. I think this is a larger hail risk, but it's not a higher probability one still. It's still a very broad brown 5%. And then tomorrow we do have a marginal level 1 and a slight risk level 2 out of 5 for severe weather. Primarily, this is for the potential of severe weather before the time frame of 1 p.m. Eastern. Could see a few tornadoes. The greatest tornado threat will most likely be in southwestern Georgia into the panhandle of Florida, maybe extreme southeastern Alabama into the early morning hours with the remnants of a possible derecho later on tonight. We'll also have the potential for a few tornadoes out here in eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, and southern Maryland into extreme southern Delaware. There is the possibility for me to chase this. I'm not too sure just yet, though. The primary tornado threat starts at about 9, I think I said 9:10 a.m. starts the primary tornado threat in Durham, and then moves eastward throughout the remainder of your early morning hours, all the way till about 1 p.m. About 1 to 2 p.m., those storms will begin to move offshore. There is also the opportunity for a cold core tornado threat out in Pennsylvania, extreme northern Virginia, into Maryland for tomorrow as well. The SPC hasn't denoted any areas for that just yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a spin-up tornado tomorrow afternoon somewhere in this area as well. So 3 different areas to watch for tornadoes tomorrow. The remnants of that possible derecho tonight. A low cape, high shear setup here in Virginia, North Carolina, southern Delaware, southern Maryland. And then not a classic cold core, but a cold core setup up in southeastern Pennsylvania for tomorrow. All of those are low-wind threats. We'll probably end up with a tornado somewhere in one of those regions. But anything like a tornado outbreak or a strong tornado threat or multiple tornadoes, we're most likely not going to see that. Just a tornado or two in all 3 of those areas are possible. And that's your overview of your SPC outlooks for the moment. Almost 4 p.m. Like I said, greatest opportunity to see a severe tornado watch to be issued is from 4 p.m. To 5 p.m. Eastern. NATOcast did put for some reason, it's put a 15 sig tour in southwestern Tennessee, east of Memphis. It's got another 15 sig tour west of Nashville. It's got another 15 sig tour in northwestern Alabama, and it's got a 15% tour, I think, east of Birmingham. But there's no large specified area for that 15 sig. It's just like 4 spots. Of course, NotoCast does have its bias, as well as its known bias of being more biased towards populated areas in a tornado threat for higher probabilities. So, new H triple R is coming in. Like I said, they're not very accurate after 12Z, but I'm still going to look at them. Let's see our outlook again. I swear, this cold front ain't moved, man. Feel like it's stalling out over here. It's definitely moved, though, if we loop it. It's definitely moved. It just doesn't feel like it. I swear it's been in southwest Arkansas for the last 3 hours. Feels like it's been there forever. I do want to go check. Let's see. Where is it? It's not that. Actually, I'll check that. And I will check this. I'm going to check some winter weather stuff real quick. I won't show you guys because it's more for severe weather, not a winter stream. Actually, this is the last time we'll have to look at it. We won't be able to look at it tomorrow because it's going to be closer in range, so I will show it. It's our outlook for snow on day 4, which is Wednesday. That's Wednesday around 7 a.m. and then Wednesday around 1 p.m. Eastern. 7 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 a.m., 1 p.m. So there you go. Just want to show that just for a minute. We're over 165 likes now. Goal is to get to 200. So again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. I'm not going to say that as frequently if we start getting warnings, but at the moment we are warningless other than a bunch of flash floods. I'm going to go over here and see this. Oops. No snow for you, Catman. You don't get any. I'm going to steal all your snow. I'm going to make sure that little dry slot warm sector goes more to the north and then you don't end up with any snow. You're going to get rain. Rain. Or do you have a chance for ice? You might get ice. Or we could share. I'll make a deal with you. I'll let you get 1 inch of snow and I will get a foot. Does that sound fair? I think that sounds fair. Sounds fair to me. Eh. Rockets, you're not yet a mod on this channel, so you can get all the snow you want. You're gonna get a bunch of snow because you're not a mod. Catman's a mod. He doesn't get snow. But Rockets, you're not a mod just yet, so you can get all the snow you want. You don't get a mod dome. Great. I apologize if I'm getting more quiet. We're almost 3 hours in. I don't know if I'm gonna split this up. There is a chance I split this up into 2 live streams. If I do end, it would probably be near like the 4:30 time frame. I don't know for sure. Maybe 5. And then wait for everything to kick back up and then start up again. I know our chaser Connor Croft is going to be out there at 5:30, so we'll definitely be using his feed as long as we're live for it. If I don't live stream throughout the rest of like the entire day, then I'm definitely gonna live stream again tonight. If I conclude in 30 minutes, I'm not gonna leave the entire day. Which we're just gonna wait and see exactly what happens. Another update for our satellite imagery. That is definitely a lot of clearing. That clearing kind of keeps surprising me every time I look over there. You can always see it above my face cam. I'm trying to get Lucky up from his nap. See what he thinks about tomorrow again. I can't keep Lucky up for like more than 20 minutes. Oh, I woke him up. Let's go. Now I get to talk to him more. I doubt I woke him up. Most of the time he's just in his bed watching TikTok, I'm sure, or something. Doing something. Oh, there you go. He's watching TV. There you go. He's watching TV. And then he's going to go back to sleep. Jeez. Let me go back over here. I forgot how to spell this. There we go. Let's see. That's crazy, Caleb. Any tornado possibility around 5 a.m. Freeport, Florida? I'm sure there's a small chance, but anything notable, I doubt it. Let's see where Freeport is. I want to find out exactly where it is. Freeport, Florida. Okay, that's where I thought it was. So, yeah, you have a chance at like 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Damaging winds around 50, maybe up to 60 miles per hour, and a brief spin-up tornado can't be ruled out. But it's not a notable threat by any means. There's a much higher chance you get absolutely nothing but some light to moderate rain. All right, we're at that time where we should see a watch come out eventually. If not within the next hour, then they may not issue a watch for that area until later. And that later watch may actually end up being the main watch. So we'll see. That mesoscale discussion for the potential of a watch will expire at 5, which is in 56 minutes. Oh yeah, that's another reason why I went live early, because of the race today. I forgot about that. Somehow forgot about the race since I went live. I was supposed to be busy this morning and early the afternoon, and then end up watching the race at 5, but I wasn't busy after 1. So I was free from 1 to 5, so that's why I'm still here. I'd like to see that watch before I take a break. Would it be better for me to leave the stream running, or do you guys want me to end and then come back? I feel like it might be easier to end and then come back, because then I'd be able to come back right when it really starts getting active. Because there's always the chance, if I leave it running, there's always the chance that my computer just randomly decides to go into sleep mode, or it powers down for a bit, or the monitor turns off, and then everything goes haywire. Because I most likely wouldn't be here. I'd be watching the race. I think it's a 2% within a 25-mile radius of your area. Yeah, it is. Actually, hold on. Milton might be in the 5%. Yeah, you're in the 5% chance. You're on the edge of that 10, though. Look how close you are to that 10. Just a couple miles to your north. It's about 12 miles to your north. So you got about a 5% chance for a tornado every 25 miles. So if you use your area, then within this whole radius here, you have about a 5%. Timing for that is definitely very early tomorrow morning. You're looking at about 3, probably 4 a.m. Right around 4 a.m., I'd say. Come on, SPC, we doing this watch or not? It's an 80% chance of being issued. The only thing, if it doesn't get issued, what they would end up doing is just letting it expire. It would expire, this would expire, and then they would end up issuing the main watch there. Xfinity's today, so that's what I'm trying to catch, Tim. I believe tomorrow's race begins at like 11. The coverage begins at 11:30. I think green is at 2. Or it might even be at 1 now. I heard they moved it around. It's at 1:30. Green flag is apparently at 1:30. But in my opinion, if I just look at this real quick, in my opinion, it would have been probably better to push it. Because the rain, it might linger around, though. There's going to be one main line that comes in at 3. There's going to be a main line of potentially severe weather that comes in at 3, and then isolated rain from 3 to 5. And then after 5 p.m., it is completely gone, or should be completely gone. So I guess they're going to try to get an hour and a half of racing in, and then it's probably going to end up raining, and then depending on if it's raining or not, they'll continue it or stop it there. I know today it rained at Daytona, which wasn't exactly completely expected. I mean, there was a chance, but it rained quite a bit. See if it's raining there now. There's some rain showers. This doesn't look like much, but eventually rain showers will be able to form here towards like 4 and then move, or actually towards like 6, I mean. Not 4, 6. And then move north, but I doubt those will actually hit Daytona. So it should be clear for Xfinity today. Did I circle you? I don't think I circled near you. Oh, you're down here? You're in Florida. I forgot. I mean, Daytona 500, that's going to be like a 4-hour race. 200 laps is not a short race, and you got all the ceremonies and stuff, so... I mean, once the race coverage that said it begins at 11:30, but I think it's going to be more towards probably 1:30 before the race coverage actually begins. And you have at least a good 30 minutes of ceremony. So I'd say if it's green flag at 1:30, they'll probably be done near 5. I don't even know if it would be that short. I'm trying to think the truck race yesterday. So truck race was green flag at like 7:35, maybe 7:40. And that lasted till about 10:15. So that was like an hour and a half race for 100 laps. Yeah, you're probably looking at about overall about 5 p.m. if they do a green flag at 1:30. Still no watch out yet. Not seeing much intensification out here in southwestern Arkansas, so that's really good. Hopefully that continues to be the case. We'll continue to see that continue to see all of the rain just eventually pile up into more of a line as the cold front pushes through. And then once that happens, your line's going to start strengthening quite quickly. Don't know why the newest HRRR goes crazy with prefrontals in north central Mississippi. That's a bit weird. All this stuff is going to explode in intensity, probably right when I end. I hate to miss Xfinity, but I might skip Xfinity. I might just eat supper for like 10, 15 minutes and then just continue streaming. Because I could always watch race highlights. Considering it's such a big day. This is going to be our last like inactive hour right here. But that's plenty of time. Like, I could easily just take a good hour and a half break and then come back on at 7. I don't know. But yeah. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Share the stream with your family, friends, social media. Share the channel with your family and friends. It's greatly appreciated. It's just our long waiting game now. This is one of the longer waiting games, especially when I go live early. Newest European model run came in, and it shows a blizzard for Virginia. About 1.5 feet of snow from me and almost 2 feet in western Virginia. It even shows Lucky out there in Raleigh almost picking up on 7 inches of snow. Hopefully that happens. That'd be insane though. That'd probably be the most notable snowstorm since 2016 or 2018. At least out here in Virginia and North Carolina. I would be blown away if that happens. It also shows Catman in Tulsa almost getting a foot, maybe even more than a foot. I don't know exactly. Okay, it shows you getting 11 inches of snow in Tulsa. I didn't know how far northeast Tulsa was. I'm not even gonna lie. Um, it's hard to tell exactly how far east the line may be able to last due to instability. But I mean, you could easily be in the enhanced risk for damaging winds in Nashville. If I'm in Nashville, I'm preparing for up to 80-mile-per-hour winds. There's a good chance you end up with about 60, but there's also the chance you end up with up to 80 in Nashville, probably right around midnight Eastern, or rather midnight Central. My bad. 1 a.m. Eastern, midnight Central. Let me quickly do this. Give me just a moment. There we go. Still no watch. I guess they're not going to issue that until probably there's more sign of strengthening. None of these are really going upscale enough, I suppose, to issue that watch. Yeah, I've honestly, I'm a little surprised the enhanced risk doesn't go all the way into Nashville for a 30% wind risk. But models aren't the utmost, they're not the most, what you call an agreement. They're not in the most agreement of you getting a very significant line of damaging winds greater than 70 miles per hour. Some of them begin to weaken right around south of Clarksville. Most of our models end up weakening the line somewhere in here below that 70 mile per hour mark. But pretty much every model run that I see here has at least 60 mile an hour winds going through Nashville around midnight Central. HRRR is probably the only one that is a little bit more on the aggressive side, bringing the winds closer to probably 70 and maybe even 80 near Nashville. Yep, 20Z HRRR is definitely quite the aggressive HRRR model. Probably one of the more aggressive ones we've had today, at least in terms of a substantial tornado threat. Also, let me show you a big difference here. Here's the older HRRR from an hour ago. Biggest thing to pay attention to, line orientation. Northeast to completely southwest. Lesser tornado threat, still definitely a tornado threat, but just lesser, with a substantially greater wind threat. 20Z HRRR. orientation has now changed from north to south over northwestern Alabama. So that would allow for a greater wind threat and a substantially greater tornado threat if we ended up with a more north to south orientated line. But there's not a lot of confidence in exactly where we may see a north to south orientation here in the line, so that's why we don't have any 15 sig tore out yet from the SPC. Same goes for discrete supercells. Not a lot of confidence in them actually sustaining, so they didn't introduce that 15 sig either. Let's see. It looks like we're having a bit of temperature dew point spread issues here. That is definitely another sign for those prefrontal storms struggling. If you look here, especially into Mississippi, 80 over 63, 81 over 72. And then if we go further south, 79 over 66. Some of these are almost up to 20-degree temperature dew point spreads, which means that storms in the open warm sector would be more on the elevated side of things. However, there's still a good chunk of this stuff in terms of the analysis here, observations, I should say. Still a good chunk of this that is around that 10-degree mark. But some is definitely, especially like that, 62, 81, that is a 19 temperature dew point spread right there. That would definitely result in more elevated storms. So that also has probably helped contribute to a lesser prefrontal threat, at least so far. But eventually, we're going to start seeing prefrontals go all the way up into northern Mississippi, southern Tennessee, specifically, most likely after that 6, 7 p.m. Eastern time frame. And that's when your tornado threat should peak somewhere up in that area. Same for your damaging wind threat peaking as well. HRRR has that threat exactly at 10 p.m. for the peak activity. The absolute peak. We're about 24 likes from hitting our like goal of 200 likes. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. It's greatly appreciated. Most of you have already subscribed, but just in case, friendly reminder, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when I go live or upload a video. If we do end the live stream, that notification bell is definitely important so you know when I go back live. I believe Connor is still setting his stream for 5:30 Eastern. Yeah, he's still on for 5:30. Mainly, it's mainly going to be more of a nocturnal chase for him, so I don't think we're going to use his feet a bunch today, especially since those prefrontals haven't really gotten going yet, so any type of daytime tornado activity is definitely going to be more on the limited side. And we should have the new Mesoanalysis. I'm really looking for anything to talk about here because I've ran out. I've really ran out of things to talk about now. 21Z. I mean, after 3 hours of no warnings, which was to be expected, there's not much to talk about. I really just want to do a quick 2-hour update on this, but instead I've pushed it all the way to 3 now. Much of the same old here. Not much has really changed. Yeah, no like big No big differences. Still could see that more dry air in the upper atmosphere, especially over this portion of your warm sector. That's allowed for a lot less convection, which was again to be expected. And yeah, really, that's not really going to affect the overall performance of today. We just may have a slightly lesser strong tornado threat with prefrontals, but we really weren't expecting much of a strong tornado threat with prefrontals in the first place. There's an isolated strong tornado threat with any prefrontal that can become established, but I doubt we're going to get many that can actually establish themselves. And there's your satellite imagery. Still very large area of significant clearing. All day today, we've had significant clearing over the warm sector. So that's definitely helped increase instability. Which, if you didn't know, the HRRR actually had no clearing at all. HRRR for yesterday had 0 clearing for today. So it was definitely wrong in that part. It's probably why it was underdoing instability too. Let me go over here. All right. We're still going to stay live. I'd like to stay live till this watch gets issued, but it's just refusing to be issued. There's not really... That cold front's probably still a little bit on the slower side here. Yeah, the QLCS tornado threat is really what we're expecting. I really wasn't too concerned about prefrontals today. The main thing I'm concerned about is the QLCS, because we're just going to continue to increase absurd ingredients in the primary warm sector, especially in central and northern Mississippi. And then that cold front's going to push through right around 9 p.m. or so, depending on what location you're looking at. And it's just going to hit that rich environment and explode in intensity. I'm not sure exactly when it will explode. It will probably explode in intensity more towards eastern Arkansas. The latest HRRR has that being somewhere around the time frame of 6 p.m. But it may be a little bit later. For instance, the NAM really doesn't have it until closer to 8. I mean, this is expected to be an evening event. I really didn't expect to be covering anything in this live stream. I did it for more of a briefing purpose. Should get the new HRRR before we end up ending. Or taking a break, whichever one. Still don't know which one I'm going to end up doing. The thing is, if I end, that allows for me to get a lot more stuff done. And then I can come back when the event's beginning to peak. But if I stay here, then that just ends up, we're just not going to be talking much at all until things start popping off. We're 16 likes away from 200 likes. Still no active warnings other than flash flood, which again is to be expected. So if you're enjoying the update, make sure you hit that like button. Most of our update was, of course, done in the first 2 hours of the live stream. We've kind of just been waiting for this watch for the last hour and a half or so. Like I mentioned, they may not even issue this mesoscale discussions watch. Definitely some activity beginning to increase, but we shouldn't have any substantial activity increase until that cold front hits your main line of rain. The cold front is generally, I'm gonna go check. I want to end up getting it inaccurate here. Yeah, so your cold front, let's do a more bigger, larger view like this. Your cold front's generally in here. That's generally where your cold front is. And then it turns on into your warm front going up this way. And then extends whatnot. So we're waiting for that cold front to push more to the east. And then eventually congeal everything up into a line, which will probably happen into far eastern Arkansas. What do you mean, how is it possible? The SPC issues a strong, a hatched risk, and boom, there's a strong tornado threat today. What do you mean? A QLCS is a quasi-linear convective system, typically associated with tornadoes. Most of QLCSs have a weaker tornado threat, but there's definitely the occasional QLCS that you could get that has a more notable, strong spin-up tornado threat with it, in this case today. I mean, that's like saying, how does a derecho produce tornadoes? Just because it's a line doesn't mean it can't produce. Especially if it's an organized long line. Now, if you get just if you get like this, for instance, see this is like a clustered linear mode here, right? That's more outflow dominant, a lot less to near zero of a tornado threat. That won't pose much of a threat for anything for the entirety of its lifespan, but that's not what we're dealing with for the rest of the day. That cold front's gonna hit our line of rain, and then the cold front's gonna bring that line of rain into the better ingredients, and that line of rain is gonna turn into a line of extremely strong damaging winds and tornadoes, and potentially strong tornadoes. And then once that happens, we get a very long, significant line of all hazards minus significant hail. And then you can see that continues, and then according to the HRRR, it has really moved your peak activity. HRRR has moved peak activity all the way into midnight, 1 a.m., and nothing really starts dying off in your main risk up here until after 1 a.m. Eastern. I personally still don't see much in this area in terms of a very significant damaging wind threat. Same goes for a very significant tornado threat. I think that southern side is going to be more on the weaker end. So I really don't know exactly why the SPC is extremely confident in damaging winds on the southern side. I'm yet to see a model that shows the southern side being significantly stronger than the northern side, where that low pressure is eventually going to be located at. That's the main thing I disagree with the SPC. And really the only thing I disagree with is that placement. I really feel like this whole southern 45% is just not going to do a lot at all. That's really the only thing I disagree with. The 30% chance, I see that, it's there for more of a precautionary measure, in my opinion. But they have that 45% there, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. I personally just don't see it. The forcing is going to be a lot weaker because that's not where your primary cold front is going to end up being. You know, your cold front will be there, but it's going to be significantly weaker thanks to it being, uh, you know, the low pressure is going to be way up there in southern Missouri. So that's probably what I'm most curious about in this event is seeing how that southern event, or rather the southern side of this line is going to verify. Also, I think I said this is a precautionary measure for this red area here. That's not true. We're definitely going to see damaging winds in that red area. Most of this red area will see damaging winds. It's just, I feel like it's a little bit more, it's a little less likely that we see significant damaging winds on this southern side. I feel like it's less likely we see that 80 to potentially up to 90-mile-per-hour winds in this area here as opposed to that northern risk in this region. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, the SPC is going to be able to forecast better than I ever will. But in my opinion, just the forcing from the low pressure being in southeastern Missouri, and then it's going to be right where your cold front is, mixed with the decent northern extent of that low pressure. I just feel like the northern side is going to be, the northern side up here is going to be more of the area to watch for the most significant hazards today. That's really the area that I've been focused on for the last 72 plus hours. This northern side, north of Jackson, Mississippi. I really think that's where your primary threat for most of your severe weather will be. But the SPC is very confident on the southern extent of that line being significant, so like I said, we'll see. Also, we just got a new observed sounding, relatively new. It was actually about an hour ago. So 20Z observed sounding. I just realized it was in. And there you go. You can see that 15 temperature degree dew point spread as well as still dry air above the 500 millibar. So you're still struggling. Any storms that are around Jackson, Mississippi definitely would be struggling. Which is why we're not seeing that more notable widespread prefrontal convection, which is, again, really what we expected. That inversion is not what we expected, that significant of an inversion, but it's really not going to hurt the overall threat today. At least in my opinion. Like I said, it is the only opportunity, in my opinion, that we have for an intense tornado threat of EF3 plus strength for a tornado. I don't think we'll end up seeing an EF3 plus intense tornado threat embedded in the QLCS, unless we get that north to south orientation. We probably won't see an intense tornado threat inside that QLCS, but who knows? Who knows? We'll see what the SPC says when they issue their tornado watch in 20 years. Yep, we do indeed have a flash flood emergency now. Let me change the color table on this. – Warning settings. Considerable severe should be like 5. There you go. Much better. And a flash flood emergency should be 4 and 10. Oops. Definitely don't want it to be white. There we go. There, now you can clearly see that flash flood emergency. I don't like it that bold, so let's go ahead and just kind of get rid of the full boldness of that. We'll cut it down to like 8. There you go, much better. Still keeps it very obvious. So that's a flash flood emergency, which means potential for catastrophic flash flooding. Actually been observed there. That's been observed. That is in eastern Tennessee, or eastern Kentucky. I said Tennessee. Eastern Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky. No, it's still not fully beginning yet. Yeah, I did an update on that Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. Or Thursday, one or the other. I made landfall as a Cat 4. All right, only 19 more minutes before that MCD expires. We all know who it is, and no, he lives more to the northwest. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. 20 years later, and we still don't have a severe watch. I'm almost thinking that they're not going to issue the severe watch. They're going to let this MCD expire. They're going to issue a new mesoscale discussion. That new mesoscale discussion will be one of the only watches we see today. What I was thinking was we'd see a low-end severe watch here. We'd see our high-end tornado watch generally somewhere in like this area here. Maybe even more to the south. I don't know. We could end up with a bunch of watches today. I take that back. Because we'll probably have our high-end tornado watch here. I was originally thinking that lower-end severe watch would be out in this area. And then, of course, we're going to get the late-night mid-tier tornado watch in this region. But then, that completely leaves out the potential for watches further to the south in this area. So we could end up with as many as 4 watches today, but it seems like they may not go through with issuing this severe watch / low-end tornado watch for Little Rock. Or near Little Rock, at least, to the east. Because storms are already getting into that area. They don't seem severe. They don't seem significant, which is what the HRRR was portraying. So we may not end up seeing this until a watch, that is. We may not end up seeing a watch until closer to 5:30 p.m., 6 o'clock, and it would probably be the main one. At this point, 6 o'clock, because they haven't even issued an MCD for the primary watch. So we'll see. If they don't issue this watch, it's going to be at least another hour before we get our main watch. Normally they issue those MCDs as much as 2 hours, 3 hours in advance, and then sometimes they issue the MCD and then 1 minute later they issue the watch. So it just depends. It just depends. I mean, it was more for a briefing, Ben. I wanted to be here to make sure everyone was safe because I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure if I'm going to be able to stream until late, like later tonight. So I just took the opportunity, dude. I took the opportunity of me sitting around. I went, you know what? I'm going to go live at 1 because that's when I'm available. But then I had to get everything ready, so I actually ended up going live at 1:10. We're 11 likes away from 200 likes. Just 11 likes away. I'll try my best to live stream the later night threat, but I know for a fact I'm going to be busy between like 5:10, which is when I'm planning to end, and 7. And I'd like to watch the race, so maybe even after 7. Of course, I'll watch it very closely. If I think it's getting way too significant, I'll just hop right on here. Let me check this. Give me just a moment to do this. All right. Bunch of flash flood warnings coming out. Still. Just got like 3 notifications for Northwestern Virginia. Yep, 2 special weather statements. One in Shreveport and one well south of Shreveport is for eastern Texas. That's definitely not in the main event. I would be pretty surprised if we ended up with anything actually severe out of that. Yeah, we got a flash flood emergency. Just Ben, I went over it like 5 minutes ago, buddy. Right there. Southeastern Kentucky. Well, that's gonna that MCD is gonna expire in 13 minutes, man. We started well before that MCD was issued, and we gonna end after it's expired. And then, like I said, I'll try to end up coming back. I know most of you guys will be watching other people for live weather coverage by the time I end up coming back, which is perfectly fine. Just please make sure that you're getting your information from somewhere, and that is it's a reliable person or software or something. Weather radio, your phone. Make sure your phone's EAS sounds are on and alerts are on. And just make sure you're weather aware. That's all I care about, is that you're weather aware. That's all I ask once you leave this live stream, is that you're weather aware. And of course, definitely if you are in the severe weather risk zone today. Or the flooding risk, which the flooding risk is all the way from, here, I'll draw it out. Generally, this whole area is in that risk for flooding. I know you guys can't see that full thing, but generally from about southern New Jersey, and most specifically, definitely most specifically, where we have those flash flood warnings, flash flood emergencies, and significant flash flood warnings coming through. All the flash floodings. Okay. Still nothing. Only 11 more minutes left before that MCD expires. Close all this stuff out as well. Rotation near where now? Let's see. Let me see. Did I copy and paste that right? Okay, yeah, I guess I did. Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee. I love when people never mention states. Yeah, it doesn't even come up for anything. I would assume it's probably in eastern Texas, but I don't know. That's not even rotating. There's not a piece of this line that is even attempting to rotate. Oh, maybe a little southwest of center, but I doubt that's actually translating to lower level. Okay, yeah, north of that area. Northwest of San Augustine. Little area of rotation. Right in here. And then there was another area I pointed out. But I doubt it's actually going to do anything. We'll keep an eye on it, but yeah. It's just not in the, it's not in the most primed environment by any means. Another flash flood emergency just got issued. This one is in southeastern West Virginia. See it there in the very bold green. Actually, I do want to check that environment because there is a chance it's favorable. Yeah, I mean, that area is definitely, we could see a spin-up tornado out of that, actually. I wouldn't fully rule that out. It wouldn't completely surprise me if we got a spin-up tornado out of that. This looks like it's going to pop off later rather than earlier, so we're going to conclude here in about 15 minutes or so, and then hop back on probably near 7 or 8, or whenever I may get back on. Before I do that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to schedule a live stream in advance here. And then I will just send you guys on over to that. I'm not leaving yet. I ain't leaving yet. But I'm going to set this all up so that way when I'm ready to go live, I can go live again. And then you guys will just automatically be sent over to that area. Oh, wait, if I schedule this, then it's going to be in front. I don't want to do that, actually. I'll just schedule the live stream right after I'm done this one. 8 likes away from 200 likes. We are very close, very, very close to hitting our like goal today. Really close. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. It's really appreciated. Like I said, we'll be back here later on tonight. I just want to go get some stuff done. I didn't expect to do this long of a live stream. I was only going to do like a quick 2 to 3 hour live stream, and this one's 4 hours, so. And by the way, this is our most viewed live stream in a very long time. Since October 5th of 2024, when Hurricane Milton was in the southwestern Gulf. So this is the most viewed live stream of 2025 by a milestone, and the most viewed live stream since October of last year. So I greatly appreciate the support everybody is giving this live stream. And like I said, I will be back later on tonight. There's a little storm going up in Alabama, but that thing ain't gonna survive. Still gonna wait. I'm still gonna wait here. Just a couple more minutes. We'll start really concluding in 10 minutes. I have a very good feeling that a severe watch or tornado watch will come out directly after I end. I have a really good feeling about that. Also, note, over the course of our entire live stream, which if we go all the way back, which we can't even, this is where our rain was. Our main rain was right here, north of that black line, about 3 hours ago, which, like I said, that's actually after we started our live stream. I can't go back that far, all the way to 4 hours ago. And then look where it is now. So it has moved way up here now, and then of course that cold front has pushed it more to the east. So basically what I'm trying to get at here is this area is now beginning to destabilize rapidly. And actually that is very much occurring right now. If we switch back to satellite imagery, you can see that clearing is well into western Tennessee now. So there you go. We are definitely beginning to rapidly destabilize, and that warm sector is beginning to really push northward now. So we should be full go for severe weather probably around, I'd say, 7 p.m. I'd say between 6 and 7 p.m. this stuff's gonna all explode. We're going to end at the perfect time, too. My food's going to be ready at 5:15, and we're going to end at 5:10, so we're going to end at the perfect time. We're going to probably get a few tornado warnings and quite a lot of severes before I get back on here. But that's okay. As long as we don't get anything very significant, then that will be, I'm okay with missing a couple tornado warnings that don't produce and a couple severes. But if we start getting things that are producing, we start seeing tornadoes drop down, we start seeing 80 mile per hour severes and maybe even a significant area of rotation, I'm definitely gonna hop back on and just quit watching my race. So when things really get going, I'll be back here for sure. Unless I get extremely busy, which I really hope I won't. All right, this MCD expires in 2 minutes, y'all. We've been live for the entire duration of this MCD, which I believe has been 3 hours. We started, and then about an hour in, this got issued, and we're about to watch it expire. It has not been issued. Sometimes they do issue it about 5 to 10 minutes after the MCD expires, which will be live all the way up until... I'm going to start concluding here in 7 minutes, so we'll give it another 5 more minutes after that expires. PDS warning once I end. There is no way. There is no way. I don't think there's anything that is even remotely capable. And there's a tornado watch. There you go. Tornado watch has just been issued from Paris, Tennessee, all the way down to Eastern Texas. Wow. Literally about 60 seconds before this sucker expires and they issued it. Jeez. They were really close there, huh? Very close. 70-mile-an-hour winds likely, ping-pong-sized hail possible, and a few tornadoes likely. So most likely, they are going to say a couple intense tornadoes possible with this Tornado Watch's wording. There it is. You see that? The Tornado Watch came first, and then the MCD just expired. So there you go. It is a 60-30 Tornado Watch. Let's see. Yep. Few tornadoes likely with a couple intense tornadoes possible. Scattered damaging winds of 70 miles per hour likely. Isolated large hail up to 1.5 inches diameter possible. An intensifying squall line will move generally from west to east through the late evening. The greatest severe risk will be with the Boeing segments or embedded supercells within the squall line. Damaging wind gusts will be likely, and the threat for tornadoes may exist. Primary hazard is actually fully tornadoes with this 60-30 for tornadoes, and then significant wind is also a close call to 60-20, and then hail is the lowest at 20-20. Overall, there's a 80% high risk for 6 or more combined severe weather events out of this risk or tornado watch. Yeah, they do say a couple EF3 plus tornadoes possible, which is very interesting. That is really interesting. I think that primary intense tornado threat, if we do even see it, will be focused on this portion of the watch. On that northeastern side. So there you go. Let's see. Very unique. Very weird, I should say unique. Very weird on why they say a couple intense tornadoes possible. I don't fully agree with that. Maybe we could see 1 or 2. 2 is even a long shot for saying intense. But we'll see. I do think it's possible we see an intense tornado, maybe 2. 4 more likes until 200 likes. Just like Wednesday's live stream, we are getting towards the very end of the stream, and we're very close to hitting our like goal. Just 4 likes away, so if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Like I said, we will be back later on tonight. There's a very high chance I'll be back for at least a couple hours. I'm just going to get off, rest my voice, so that way I'll be able to speak tonight, and probably watch a bit of our NASCAR race in Florida. And then hop right back on. I'm going to schedule the live stream right when I end. I'm going to schedule the live stream. It'll take me probably 3 minutes to make the live stream. So directly after I end, just wait on my channel page for about 3 minutes, and then you could go ahead and, start chatting in my new live stream. Just make sure you're very weather aware. Make sure you're hyper weather aware. Make sure you got a weather radio, especially if you are in the risk area. Your EAS is on your phone, and yeah, you could also go watch other people cover this as well. Your local meteorologists or other YouTubers are definitely live at this time, or storm chasers. Just make sure you have some way to get watches and warnings And stay very hyper weather aware. You definitely want to be hyper weather aware, especially in bigger risks like this. So I don't believe that is your primary watch. It does encompass the tiniest little bit of your 45%. So I don't believe that is your primary tornado watch for today. But it's definitely one of the more... It's definitely pretty far up there. It's definitely up there. I'm not sure what we'll see downstream. By the way, that watch goes for the next 6 hours. So that goes all the way till midnight. Or what? That's 11 p.m. I'll check that right now before we end. I don't know. I don't know exactly how far that goes. I'll go check right now. 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central. But all right, 200 likes. Thank you guys for hitting the like goal. Greatly, greatly appreciated. I'll be back here sometime later on tonight, so make sure you've hit that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all so you know when I do go live, which I'll probably schedule the live stream for 10 p.m., but most likely, well, let me see. I'll schedule it for 8. I'll schedule it for 8 o'clock because I'm sure I'm not going to be able to hold it off till 10. That'd be a miracle if we don't get something worth streaming before 10 o'clock. We would be very, very, very lucky to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and head off here. I'll be back. I'm going to set that live stream for 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll set that for 8 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully we'll be live at or just barely before 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank you, mods from on chat. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Most popular live stream since October, the beginning of October last year. So really appreciate that. Thank you also for all the super chats. Let me quickly go see the super chats here. Let's see. Rinji, if that's how you say your name, thank you for the $7 today. Jessica for the $10. And Legacy also somehow missed Legacy for becoming a member for 18 months now. Legacy, our mod, has been a member, I'm pretty sure, since either day one or just barely after day one. Legacy got it pretty much right away, right when I started talking about it. So again, thank you for watching. I'm going to set that live stream right after I end. So I'll have that live stream up probably around 5:13 p.m. Eastern. And I'll schedule it for 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then we'll come back on here right around 8 p.m. Eastern. Maybe just before, maybe a little bit after. But I'm going to head off for just a few hours. And we'll be back tonight for probably around the same length of a live stream. I imagine we'll be live probably from around 8 p.m. to midnight. We'll see how long I last. But all right, that's going to be it. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Please stay hyper weather aware, especially if you are in the risk area. And I will catch you guys in our live stream later on today. Like I said, right around 8 p.m. Eastern. Maybe a little later, maybe a little bit before. We'll just see what happens. Thank you for 200 likes. Once again, thank you, mods from on chat. I'll catch you guys in the live stream later on tonight. Stay safe, watch severe weather. Goodbye. Stay safe. Watch for your weather. Thank you much for watching. I'll see you guys around 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Have a great rest of your night. Good.